The starship Aegis Nova glided silently through the void of space, its sleek hull glinting under the distant light of 1,000 suns. Aboard was Captain Isha Serrano, a seasoned explorer, and the leader of a diverse crew on a mission of discovery. They were on a routine expedition to the fringes of known space, searching for rare artifacts to bring back to their homeworld, Thaler Prime. However, nothing could prepare them for the fateful decision they would make on their next stop. The planet below, designated as HFY 472, was shrouded in swirling storms and dense vegetation, a green and blue orb that seemed both beautiful and treacherous. Captain Serrano peered at the readings on her console, her curiosity piqued. Reports suggest high levels of bioactivity, she noted, brow furrowed. It could be rich in resources. Her first officer, Terk, a tall, lanky alien with iridescent skin, squinted at the screen. But Captain, it's classified as a death world. We've all read the data. Survival rates for outsiders are dismal. That's exactly why we need to explore it, she replied, the thrill of discovery igniting her spirit. If we can find something of value, it'll be worth the risk. Prepare the landing party. The crew exchanged nervous glances, but ultimately complied. As they descended through the atmosphere, the turbulence rattled the ship, a harsh reminder of the planet's volatility. They landed on a rocky outcrop, the winds howling outside like a pack of hungry wolves. With her heart pounding, Isha led her team into the dense underbrush, their footsteps muffled by the thick foliage. Strange, bioluminescent plants glowed eerily in the dim light, casting a surreal blue hue across the clearing. The air was thick with humidity and the pungent smell of decaying vegetation. "Stay alert," Isha commanded. "We're not just here for a stroll." As they trekked deeper into the jungle, the crew's scanners picked up unusual energy readings. Terk paused, his sensors buzzing with excitement. "Captain, I think I've found something." He led them to a clearing dominated by an enormous, ancient structure half buried under vines and roots. It resembled a temple made of stone and metal, intricately carved with symbols long forgotten. "It's beautiful," Isha whispered, awestruck. As they approached, Terk pointed to a glowing orb resting atop a pedestal. "That's it. The readings are off the charts. We must take it back." The orb shimmered like a star, casting a warm light around them. Isha hesitated. "What if it's a trap? We need to analyze it first." But the allure of the artifact was too strong, and the crew, emboldened by the prospect of fame and fortune, urged her on. With a deep breath, Isha reached out and gently lifted the orb. The moment she did, the ground trembled violently, as if the planet itself was angry. Vines lashed out, ensnaring her legs, and the air crackled with energy. "Get back to the ship," she shouted, but it was too late. A booming voice echoed through the clearing, deep and resonant. "You dare steal from Earth?" The crew froze, terror etched on their faces. Emerging from the shadows, a figure materialized, tall, humanoid, but unlike any species they had encountered. Clad in a suit of glimmering armor, the being radiated an aura of power and authority. "What are you?" Isha stammered, still clutching the orb. "I am Guardian of Earth," the figure proclaimed, voice shaking the leaves around them. "And you have violated sacred law. You have taken what is not yours." Isha's mind raced. "We meant no harm, we just wanted to." "Wanting is not enough," the Guardian interrupted. "You think yourself superior, but you are trespassers in a realm you do not understand. Earth is not just a planet, it is a living entity, and you have stolen a piece of its soul." As the words sank in, the reality of their actions washed over Isha like cold water. "Please, we can return it," she pleaded. "We didn't know." The Guardian's expression was inscrutable. "Knowledge does not absolve you. You will face the consequences of your actions." Suddenly, the orb in Isha's hand began to pulse, responding to the Guardian's presence. Energy surged through the air, and the vines tightened around her legs, dragging her toward the ground. "Isha!" Terk cried out, lunging forward, but another wave of energy sent him sprawling back. "You are not the first to attempt theft," the Guardian continued, stepping closer. Many have come, lured by greed. Few return. The earth has ways of protecting itself. In that moment, the ground shook violently, and the jungle erupted into chaos. Creatures emerged from the foliage, massive beasts with sharp claws and glistening fangs, eyes glowing with fury. They surged forward, drawn to the Guardian, ready to defend their domain. "I'll return the orb," Isha shouted desperately, but the Guardian merely shook his head. "It is too late for apologies. You have awakened the wrath of Earth." With a mighty roar, the beasts charged, their eyes fixed on the crew. Panic erupted, and Isha dropped the orb, watching in horror as it shattered against the ground. A blinding light enveloped the clearing, and the world around them spun into chaos. The Guardian raised a hand, and suddenly everything went quiet. The light coalesced into a swirling vortex, pulling the crew toward it. "You will learn humility," the Guardian intoned. "Your fate is now tied to the essence of this world." As the vortex consumed them, Isha felt herself being torn apart and reformed, consciousness slipping away. Memories of their mission, of their lives back on Thaler Prime, vanished like mist in the wind. When the world solidified around her once more, Isha found herself standing alone in a vast, dark expanse. The jungle had disappeared, and instead, she was surrounded by swirling shadows, whispers echoing in her mind. Each voice was a fragment of consciousness, a memory of those who had come before her. "You took from Earth," one voice whispered. "You must learn." The shadows shifted, and Isha saw images of the planet, its beauty and its peril, its inhabitants and their struggles. She was flooded with emotions: joy, sorrow, anger, love. The essence of Earth surged within her, each feeling like a wave crashing against her soul. "You will become one with the planet," another voice murmured. "But first, you must understand." Images flashed before her eyes of explorers and thieves, of guardians and guardianship. She witnessed the destruction brought by greed and the beauty of coexistence. Isha's heart ached as she began to grasp the weight of her actions. They hadn't just taken an artifact. They had disrupted a delicate balance, a history that spanned millennia. With every moment, the shadows deepened, and Isha felt herself fading, losing her sense of self. Just as despair threatened to overwhelm her, a single image broke through the Guardian, standing strong and resolute. In that instant, she understood. Earth was not merely a planet. It was a home, a living entity with its own story, its own guardians. The Guardian had not just protected the orb. He had defended the spirit of the world itself. "I am sorry," she whispered into the darkness, her voice barely a whisper against the storm of memories. "I didn't understand." With that admission, the shadows began to shift again. Light emerged, a warm glow enveloping her, and she felt the weight of the orb's essence leave her. The swirling darkness receded, and Isha was pulled back into consciousness, collapsing onto the jungle floor. The Guardian stood before her, the chaos around them dissipating. "You have been given a second chance," he said, voice resonating with authority and understanding. "Use it wisely." Isha nodded, tears in her eyes as she looked at the fragments of the orb scattered at her feet. "I will return it," she vowed, "and I will share what I've learned." The Guardian's expression softened slightly. "Then you may leave. But remember, the world watches, and it will not tolerate another transgression." With a deep breath, Isha stood, determination surging within her. She glanced back at her crew, who had witnessed the entire ordeal, their eyes wide with a mixture of fear and awe. Together, they made their way back to the Aegis Nova, a renewed purpose guiding their steps. As they boarded, Isha turned one last time to the jungle, understanding now that the beauty and danger of Deathworlds were intertwined, a reminder of the delicate balance of life. The ship soared into the atmosphere, leaving HFY 472 behind, but Isha carried its lessons within her. They were explorers, yes, but they would return to the stars as guardians, respecting the worlds they visited and honoring the stories they held. Earth had taught them well, and she would ensure that the universe would learn the same lesson. The Aegis Nova glided smoothly through the inky blackness of space, the hum of its engines a comforting sound amid the chaos of emotions that still swirled within Captain Isha Serrano. It had been days since their fateful encounter on HFY 472, but the weight of the Guardian's words clung to her like a shadow, reminding her of the thin line between exploration and exploitation. As they cruised toward Thaler Prime, the crew remained subdued. The exhilaration of discovery had been replaced by a somber reflection on their actions. Isha gathered them in the ship's common area, the walls illuminated by soft blue lights that pulsed gently, echoing the ship's heartbeat. "All right, everyone," she began, her voice steady but carrying an undercurrent of urgency. "We need to discuss what happened on Earth and what it means for us moving forward." Tarek leaned forward, his iridescent skin shimmering as he spoke. "Captain, the Guardian was right. We acted recklessly. I thought we were explorers, but we turned into thieves." "I know," Isha replied, feeling the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. "But we have to take this experience and turn it into something constructive. We can't ignore the lessons we learned." She glanced around the room. Crew members exchanged uneasy glances, some still processing the emotional impact of their encounter. Among them was Mira, the ship's engineer, who had been studying the artifact before its destruction. Her brow furrowed as she raised her hand. "What if we had approached it differently?" Mira asked, her voice laced with uncertainty. "If we had respected the planet and sought its wisdom instead of trying to take its treasures, would things have ended differently?" "That's exactly it," Isha replied, heartened by Mira's insight. "We didn't consider the implications of our actions. We were blinded by greed and ambition. But this doesn't have to be our legacy." The crew nodded, the resolve building among them. Isha continued, "We're explorers. Our mission is to learn, to understand, and to share knowledge. We can change how we operate. We need to approach every world with respect and humility." Tarek's eyes brightened. "We could establish a new protocol for future missions. Instead of searching for artifacts to take, we could focus on learning about the cultures and ecosystems we encounter." "Exactly," Isha agreed. "And if we come across something valuable, we should consider how it fits into the greater context of that world's history and its people." As the discussion unfolded, Isha felt a sense of hope washing over her. They were not just a crew. They were a team, united by a shared mission. They could become guardians of knowledge, advocates for the worlds they visited. But as the hours passed and the planet Thaler Prime grew larger in the viewport, Isha couldn't shake the lingering dread of their actions. They had stolen from Earth, and although they had returned, the repercussions were bound to ripple through the cosmos. As they prepared to land, Isha stood at the ship's helm, gazing out at the vibrant blues and greens of their homeworld. The towering spires of the capital city shimmered in the sunlight, but the beauty felt muted against the weight of her guilt. Upon landing, the crew disembarked, but Isha held back, her mind racing with thoughts. She felt a deep urge to connect with the cultures they had previously overlooked. Perhaps it was time for her to seek guidance from those who understood the intricacies of life beyond the stars. "Captain," Tarek's voice broke through her reverie. "Are you coming?" "Yeah, I'll be right there," she replied, forcing a smile. "I just need a moment." As the crew moved toward the bustling marketplace, Isha took a deep breath, steadying herself. She needed to address the Council of Elders, the leaders of Thaler Prime. They had always encouraged exploration, but she feared what her story would reveal. The council chambers were grand, with high ceilings adorned with murals depicting the history of exploration and harmony. Isha stepped inside, her heart racing as she approached the circular table where the elders sat, their faces marked with wisdom and age. "Captain Serrano," Elder Mayo greeted her, his voice gravelly but warm. "What brings you here?" "I have something important to discuss," Isha said, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. "It's about our recent mission to H5472. The room fell silent. Isha could feel the weight of their attention. She took a deep breath and recounted the events: the discovery of the orb, the encounter with the Guardian, and the consequences of their actions. As she spoke, The elder's expressions shifted from curiosity to concern. "You stole from Earth?" Elder Nyra finally said, her tone a mix of disappointment and disbelief. "A death world? You put your crew in great danger, Captain." "I know," Isha replied, her voice trembling. "But we've learned our lesson. We want to change our approach to exploration. We want to foster understanding rather than greed." Elder Male leaned forward, studying her intently. "Words are one thing, but actions speak louder. How do you plan to prove your commitment to this change?" "We'd like to establish a new protocol for our missions," Isha proposed, her heart pounding. "Instead of taking artifacts, we'll seek to learn about the worlds we visit. We'll engage with the cultures and ecosystems, respect their histories. We want to become guardians of knowledge." The elders exchanged glances, weighing her words. "This is commendable," Elder Nyra said finally, "but it will require a significant shift in the way your crew operates. Are you prepared for that responsibility?" "Yes," Isha answered firmly. "We want to be allies, not conquerors." After a tense silence, Elder Male nodded slowly. "Very well, Captain. We will support your initiative, but you must understand that trust is earned through consistent actions. Your crew's future missions will be closely monitored. Show us that you mean what you say." "I will," Isha promised, relief flooding her. "Thank you for this opportunity." As she exited the chambers, a newfound determination surged within her. She was ready to lead her crew into a new era of exploration, one rooted in respect and understanding. Back on the ship, the crew awaited her eagerly. "Well?" Tarek asked, eyes wide with anticipation. Isha smiled, buoyed by their enthusiasm. "They've agreed to support us. We're going to reshape our mission strategy." The room erupted in cheers, but Isha raised a hand to quiet them. "But this isn't just about us. It's about how we interact with every world we encounter. We have to be vigilant, compassionate, and willing to learn." The crew nodded, a newfound fire igniting in their hearts. They gathered around the ship's central console, where maps and star charts illuminated the screens. "Let's plan our next mission," Isha said, energy surging through her. "We need to choose a world that can teach us something valuable." As they debated possible destinations, an array of planets appeared on the screen, each with its own unique challenges and cultures. Tarek pointed to one that glimmered with vibrant colors. "What about Orexia? The reports say it has a rich history of art and music." Mira chimed in. "And the locals are known for their elaborate storytelling. We could learn about their culture through their narratives instead of just taking." "That's a great idea," Isha said, nodding. "But we should also be cautious. We need to approach with the utmost respect and prepare to engage rather than extract." The crew agreed, and they spent hours refining their approach, strategizing how they would engage the Orexian people. They crafted a list of questions, prepared gifts of knowledge from Thaler Prime, and planned cultural exchanges to demonstrate their genuine interest. As they prepped for launch, a sense of camaraderie enveloped the Aegis Nova. Isha could feel the shift in the atmosphere. There was no longer an undercurrent of guilt, but a renewed sense of purpose. When the ship launched into the cosmos, a feeling of exhilaration filled the air. The stars stretched out before them, and Isha stood at the helm, heart swelling with hope. The journey to Orexia was smooth, and as they approached, the planet's vibrant colors captivated them. Lush forests, sparkling rivers, and sprawling cities filled the landscape. The culture was palpable, a vibrant energy radiating from the surface. They landed on a designated platform, greeted by a group of Orexians. The locals were tall and graceful, adorned in flowing garments that shimmered like the stars. Their faces lit up with curiosity as they approached the ship. "Welcome, travelers from Thaler Prime," one of the Orexian leaders, Lyra, greeted them. Her voice was melodic, weaving through the air like a gentle breeze. "We have awaited your arrival." Isha stepped forward, her heart pounding with excitement and trepidation. "Thank you for welcoming us. We come in peace and seek to learn from your rich culture." Lyra's eyes sparkled with intrigue. "Then come, Let us share stories and knowledge. We have much to teach you about the beauty of our world." As they followed the Aurexians into the heart of their city, Isha felt the weight of their past lift. They were not just explorers anymore, they were ambassadors of goodwill, eager to forge connections and learn from others. Over the next several days, they immersed themselves in Aurexian life. The vibrant city of Aurexia sprawled before Isha and her crew like a living tapestry. Towering structures of organic architecture, woven from bioluminescent materials, spiraled upward, pulsating with light as day turned to dusk. The air was thick with the scent of blooming flora, and the distant sound of music soft, ethereal melodies drifted through the streets, beckoning them forward. Isha couldn't help but marvel at the world around her. Each corner held a story, every face reflected a history rich with tradition. As they followed Lyra, the Aurexian leader, through the bustling market, she caught glimpses of artisans crafting intricate sculptures, musicians playing harmonious tunes, and storytellers enthralling small crowds with tales of heroism and wonder. "Your world is beautiful," Isha said, glancing at Lyra. "The artistry is breathtaking." Lyra smiled, her expression radiant. "We believe that creativity is a vital part of our existence. It connects us to one another and to the universe. Would you like to hear a story?" "Absolutely," Isha replied eagerly, glancing back at her crew, who nodded in agreement. They gathered around a small stage where an elderly Aurexian, draped in colorful fabrics, began to speak. His voice, deep and resonant, filled the air with ancient wisdom. He wove a tale about the stars, their creation, and the spirits that danced among them. The story captivated the crew, transporting them to another time and place. As the tale unfolded, Isha felt a deep sense of connection, not just to the Aurexians, but to the vast cosmos itself. After the performance, Lyra led them to a communal area adorned with vibrant tapestries and lush vegetation. "Here, we share not just stories but food," she explained, gesturing to a long table laden with an array of colorful dishes. "Please, join us." The crew exchanged glances, their curiosity piqued. As they sat down, Isha marveled at the spread before them, dishes that glimmered with an otherworldly sheen, filled with fruits and grains they had never seen before. She took a tentative bite of a luminescent fruit, and an explosion of flavors filled her mouth. "This is amazing," Mira exclaimed, her eyes wide with delight. "What's in this?" "It is the essence of our world," Lyra replied, a playful glint in her eyes. "Each dish tells a story of our land. We are what we eat, and our food carries the spirit of Aurexia." As they feasted, Isha felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. This was the kind of exchange she had envisioned, a mutual sharing of cultures and experiences, building bridges instead of barriers. But beneath the surface, a question nagged at her. Would they accept her crew as allies after the incident with Earth? She decided it was time to address the elephant in the room. "Lyra," Isha began hesitantly, "I want to be transparent. Our mission started with a mistake on our part. We came to Earth with greed, seeking to take without understanding. We have learned from that experience, and we wish to honor your culture while we're here." Lyra listened intently, her expression thoughtful. "Your honesty is commendable, Captain. Many travelers come to Aurexia seeking only to take. It is rare to find those willing to learn from their mistakes." Isha's heart lifted at the acknowledgement. "We want to learn about your tradition, your stories. We believe that understanding each other is the first step toward harmony." The conversation flowed easily, and soon they were sharing tales of their respective cultures. Isha spoke of Thaler Prime's history, the rich diversity of its inhabitants, and the lessons they had learned from their mistakes. In turn, Lyra recounted the trials and triumphs of the Aurexians, their struggles with the cosmos, and their commitment to creativity and unity. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the gathering, Lyra leaned in closer. "If you truly wish to understand us, I have a proposal." "What do you have in mind?" Isha asked, intrigued. "There is a sacred site on the outskirts of the city," Lyra explained. "It is known as the Circle of Echoes. It is said that those who visit can connect deeply with the essence of Orexia and gain insight into their own paths. If you and your crew are willing, I invite you to join me on a pilgrimage. Isha's heart raced with excitement. We would be honored. The following morning, they set out early, the sun rising over the horizon, illuminating the path ahead. Lyra led the crew through lush landscapes, vibrant flowers blooming in a kaleidoscope of colors. The air was alive with the sounds of chirping birds and the distant hum of nature, a reminder of the beauty surrounding them. As they walked, Lyra shared stories about the Circle of Echoes, how it was a place of reflection and connection. It is believed that the echoes of our ancestors linger there, waiting to guide us. Many come seeking answers, and the site has revealed profound truths to those who are open. Isha felt a sense of reverence. This journey was not just about learning from the Orexians, it was about understanding herself and the responsibility of being an explorer. When they arrived at the Circle of Echoes, Isha was struck by its beauty. The site was surrounded by ancient trees, their branches intertwining to form a natural canopy. In the center lay a circle of stones, each etched with intricate designs, glowing softly as if infused with energy. Sit within the circle, Lyra instructed, gesturing for them to take their places. Close your eyes and listen. The echoes will reveal themselves to you. Isha and her crew settled into the circle, the stones cool against their skin. She closed her eyes, focusing on her breath, allowing the sounds of nature to envelop her. As she sat in silence, a warmth spread through her, and she felt the presence of something greater than herself. Visions began to swirl in her mind, images of their mission, of the stolen orb, of the Guardian's fury. But alongside those memories, she saw the vibrant life of Orexia, the stories shared, and the connections forged. Suddenly, a voice broke through the silence, resonating deep within her. To explore is to understand. To understand is to respect. You have been given a second chance. The words echoed in her mind, reverberating against her very being. Isha opened her eyes, heart racing. What was that? She whispered, glancing at her crew. Terk sat across from her, eyes wide. I felt it too. It was profound. Mira nodded, a look of wonder on her face. It was like the world was speaking to us. Lyra smiled knowingly. The Circle of Echoes holds power. Each of you will experience your own revelations. But remember, understanding comes with responsibility. As they left the circle, the atmosphere around them felt charged with new possibilities. The journey had awakened something within Isha, a commitment not only to explore, but to protect the worlds they encountered. Back in the city, they shared their experiences with the Orexians, their words infused with renewed purpose. We want to establish a cultural exchange program, Isha proposed, to facilitate the sharing of knowledge between our peoples. Lyra's eyes sparkled with excitement. That is a wonderful idea. We could create a space for artists, storytellers, and scientists from both our worlds to collaborate and learn. As plans unfolded, Isha could see the potential for a new era of understanding. Together, they laid the groundwork for a partnership that transcended mere exploration. They were becoming allies, committed to honoring each other's histories while building a shared future. Days turned into weeks, and the cultural exchange flourished. The crew of the Aegis Nova collaborated with Orexian artists, creating a mural that depicted their journey, a visual representation of their commitment to respect and understanding. They engaged in workshops, sharing technology and stories, while learning the intricate art of Orexian music and dance. But as the days passed, whispers of their past began to reach Isha. Though the Orexians were gracious, there were murmurs among some factions of the society, a reminder of the transgressions that had brought them together. One evening, as the crew gathered to celebrate the successes of their exchange, Isha overheard a conversation between two Orexian elders. "Can we truly trust them?" one asked, his voice tinged with skepticism. "They come from a world that took from us without understanding. What if they do so again?" The words struck Isha like a cold wind, and she felt a wave of guilt wash over her. Had they truly redeemed themselves, or were they merely living in borrowed time? That night, unable to sleep, Isha wandered the city, seeking solace beneath the stars. She strolled through the marketplace, where the sounds of laughter and music echoed in the air. But her heart was heavy with doubt. Just as she turned a corner, she stumbled upon a gathering of Orexians, their voices raised in passionate debate. Intrigued, she approached cautiously, straining to hear. "We cannot allow them to continue," one elder exclaimed. "Their actions on Earth show their true nature. We risk our culture if we embrace them fully." "But they have changed," another countered. "Look at the murals, the collaboration. They seek to learn, not take." Torn between the two perspectives, Isha stepped forward, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "I understand your fears." "I understand your fears," Isha said, stepping into the circle of debate, her voice clear and steady. The gathered Orexians turned to her, their expressions a mix of curiosity and skepticism. "But I ask you to consider our journey. We are here because we recognize our mistakes, and we want to learn from them. We are not here to take, we are here to build connections." The silence that followed her words was palpable. Isha could see the conflict in their eyes, the tension between tradition and the possibility of change. She took a deep breath, hoping to bridge the gap. "Every one of us carries the weight of our past actions," she continued. "But we have also seen the beauty of this world, the strength of its people. We want to honor that, not exploit it. I understand that trust takes time, and I'm here to prove that we are committed to this partnership." A murmur rippled through the crowd, and Isha felt the weight of their judgment. But she stood firm, believing in the sincerity of her intentions. "Let us share our stories," she proposed. "Not just the stories of our cultures, but the stories of our mistakes and our redemption. Perhaps through understanding each other's journeys, we can find common ground." A tall Orexian with silver hair stepped forward. "You speak of redemption, but what do you truly understand about loss?" she asked, her tone sharp. "We lost our elders to greed and exploitation. What assurance do we have that you will not bring the same fate upon us?" Isha felt a knot tighten in her stomach. "I cannot change the past," she admitted, "but I can promise to listen and learn. I can promise that the mistakes of my people will not be repeated. We have seen what destruction can do, and we do not wish to perpetuate it." The silver-haired elder studied her closely, her gaze unwavering. "Very well," she said after a moment. "If you truly seek to understand, let us hear your story. Share with us what led you to this moment." Isha nodded, feeling a mix of relief and anxiety. "It began with our mission to explore and learn about new worlds," she started, recounting the tale of their journey, how they had discovered Earth, and the fateful decision to take the orb. She spoke of their encounter with the Guardian, the moment of realization that their actions had consequences, and how they returned home changed. As she spoke, she saw the reactions of the Orexians shift, initial skepticism turning to empathy as she laid bare the struggles of her crew. She described the weight of guilt that had driven them to seek redemption and the lessons learned during their time on Thaler Prime. When she finished, a hush fell over the gathering. The silver-haired elder regarded her thoughtfully. "You speak of guilt, yet guilt without action is hollow. What do you plan to do to honor the wisdom you have gained?" "I propose that we collaborate on an initiative that focuses on education and cultural exchange," Isha suggested, her voice rising with conviction. "We can create a program where our cultures intertwine, sharing art, music, stories, and technology in a way that respects both our histories. We can build something together that celebrates our differences while embracing our shared humanity." The crowd buzzed with conversation, and Lyra stepped forward, her voice rising above the others. "I believe in the potential of this partnership," she declared, her tone resolute. "We have the opportunity to create something unique, to share our knowledge and our stories. Let us not be defined by fear, but by our willingness to grow." Slowly, the murmurs shifted from doubt to support. The silver-haired elder nodded, her expression softening. "If we are to embark on this journey together, we must ensure that it is built on mutual respect and understanding. We will need to set guidelines for our collaboration." The atmosphere shifted from tension to hope, and Isha felt a surge of gratitude. "I promise to honor your traditions," she said, feeling the sincerity of her words. "We will create a partnership that benefits both our worlds." As the debate transformed into discussions of collaboration, Isha felt a sense of relief wash over her. They spent hours brainstorming ideas, discussing how they could create cultural festivals, art exchanges, and educational programs that would foster mutual respect. Over the following weeks, the crew of the Aegis Nova worked alongside the Aurexians, planning a grand festival that would celebrate their partnership. It was a momentous occasion, one that would highlight the beauty of their cultures and demonstrate their commitment to each other. As preparations unfolded, excitement filled the air. Isha's crew collaborated with Aurexian artisans, musicians, and storytellers, learning their crafts and sharing their own skills in return. They created a mosaic that depicted their journey, a vibrant piece of art that told the story of both worlds coming together. Finally, the day of the festival arrived, and the city of Aurexia burst into life. Colorful banners hung from every building, music filled the air, and the scent of delicious food wafted through the streets. Crowds gathered in anticipation, eager to witness the celebration. As Isha stood before the assembled crowd, she felt a mix of nerves and excitement. "Welcome, everyone," she called out, her voice echoing through the plaza. "Today, we celebrate not only the beauty of Aurexia, but also the bonds that unite our worlds. Let this festival be a testament to our commitment to learning from one another." Cheers erupted from the crowd, and Isha's heart swelled with pride. The festival began with traditional Aurexian dances, graceful movements that told stories of their history. As the crew joined in, they felt the spirit of unity envelop them. Next came the art exhibitions, where the collaborative mural unveiled the tale of their journey. The colors shimmered in the sunlight, each stroke a symbol of their commitment to one another. Isha watched as Aurexians and her crew marveled at the piece, their faces reflecting wonder and appreciation. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the festival transitioned into storytelling. Lyra stood before the crowd, her voice ringing out with passion. "We honor the stories of our ancestors and the lessons they have imparted," she declared. "Today, we create new stories, tales of friendship, understanding, and hope." One by one, crew members stepped forward to share their own stories, recounting their experiences of growth and redemption. As they spoke, Isha felt a deep connection form, a bond that transcended their differences and celebrated their shared humanity. The night unfolded into a dazzling array of lights and sounds, laughter echoing as Aurexians and crew members danced and sang together. It was a celebration of culture, a powerful testament to what could be achieved when two worlds chose to embrace each other. But amid the joy, Isha couldn't shake the nagging worry that lingered in the back of her mind. Would their efforts be enough to fully earn the trust of the Aurexians? The shadow of their past hung over her like a cloud, whispering doubts that threatened to undermine their progress. As the festival continued, she wandered away from the main celebrations, seeking a moment of solitude. She found herself on a quiet balcony overlooking the city, the stars twinkling above like diamonds scattered across velvet. "Captain," a voice called softly behind her. It was Lyra, approaching with a serene expression. "You have done well to bring our worlds together." "Thank you," Isha replied, her voice tinged with uncertainty. "But I still worry. Are we truly building a lasting partnership? Or are we merely postponing the inevitable distrust?" Lyra leaned against the balcony railing, gazing out at the festivities below. "Trust takes time, Isha. It is not granted freely. It is earned through action. You have shown us your willingness to learn, to change. That is the foundation of a strong bond." "But is it enough?" Isha pressed, the weight of her fears spilling out. "What if the scars of the past are too deep?" "Every culture has its scars," Lyra responded thoughtfully. "Aurexia has faced its own challenges, but we have chosen to embrace growth instead of dwelling on what has been lost. You must show that your crew is dedicated to this path of learning." Isha took a deep breath, absorbing Lyra's words. "I want to be a good ally, not just a visitor," she admitted. I want to prove that we can be trusted." "Then continue to engage with us," Lyra encouraged. "Participate in our customs, share your knowledge, and listen to our stories. The more you immerse yourselves in our culture, the more you will prove your commitment." As they stood in silence, Isha felt a renewed sense of purpose. Lyra was right, this journey was not just about the festival or their initial collaborations. It was about the long-term commitment to understanding and respect. Returning to the festivities, Isha rejoined her crew, who were dancing joyfully with the Aurexians. Laughter filled the air, and for the first time since their arrival, Isha felt a sense of hope wash over her. As the night unfolded, she danced and celebrated alongside the Aurexians, their cultures intertwining in a beautiful tapestry of unity. The music echoed through the streets, and the stars above seemed to twinkle in approval. The festival marked a turning point, a moment where bridges were built, and the past began to fade into the distance. Isha knew there would be challenges ahead, but with each shared story, each laugh, and each gesture of goodwill, they were creating something lasting and profound. As the celebration continued into the early hours of the morning, Isha felt the weight of her worries lift. The morning sun cast a warm glow over the city of Aurexia, illuminating the remnants of the vibrant festival that had celebrated the newfound partnership between Isha's crew and the Aurexians. As she stepped out onto the balcony of her temporary quarters, the echoes of laughter and music still lingered in the air, mingling with the soft sounds of nature awakening around her. Isha took a deep breath, allowing the sense of blooming flora to fill her lungs. It was a new day, a fresh start, not just for her and her crew, but for the relationship between their two worlds. Yet, despite the joy of the festival, she couldn't shake the nagging thought that their journey was just beginning. With determination, she made her way to the communal area where her crew gathered for breakfast. The atmosphere buzzed with excitement as they recounted their favorite moments from the night before. "Did you see Terk's dance moves?" Mira laughed, her eyes sparkling. "He looked like he was trying to take off." Terk, still slightly bleary-eyed, grinned sheepishly. "I was just getting into the spirit of things. Besides, it's not every day you get to celebrate with a new culture." As they enjoyed a hearty meal of colorful fruits and grains, Isha watched her crew interact with the Aurexians. They were no longer just visitors. They were becoming part of the community, exchanging stories, laughter, and ideas. This was what she had hoped for, a genuine connection. After breakfast, Lyra approached Isha with an expression of excitement. "We have much to discuss, Captain. The festival has opened up new possibilities for collaboration, and I believe it's time to formalize our partnership." "Absolutely," Isha replied, her heart racing at the prospect. "What do you have in mind?" "We should create a council that includes representatives from both our worlds," Lyra suggested. "This council can oversee the exchange programs, ensuring that they align with our values and traditions." Isha nodded, impressed by the idea. "That makes perfect sense. It will help us remain accountable to each other. Who do you suggest we include?" "I propose that we select artists, scholars, and leaders from both sides," Lyra said. "Their diverse perspectives will enrich our discussions and help us navigate any challenges that arise." "Let's gather a list of potential representatives," Isha suggested, already considering the crew members who would best represent Thaler Prime. "We can hold meetings every few weeks to keep the momentum going." As they brainstormed, Isha felt a growing sense of purpose. This was more than just a cultural exchange. It was a commitment to building a future that respected the past while looking toward the stars. The next few days were a whirlwind of activity as the council took shape. Isha's crew met with Aurexian leaders and artists, sharing ideas and forming bonds that would become the foundation of their collaboration. They discussed art, music, science, and philosophy, weaving together the threads of their cultures into a rich tapestry of knowledge. As they delved deeper into their discussions, Isha learned about the Aurexian philosophy of interconnectedness, the belief that all beings were woven together in a cosmic web, each thread influencing the others. It resonated with her, reminding her of the lessons they had learned on Earth. They were not just explorers, they were custodians of the universe. One afternoon, while sitting in a lush garden filled with vibrant flowers, Lyra presented a proposal that excited the council. "We should create an annual festival celebrating our unity," she said. "It would be a time for sharing stories, music, and art, a celebration of what we have built together." The idea sparked enthusiasm among the council members. Isha could see the excitement in her crew's eyes as they envisioned the possibilities. "That sounds amazing," she said, feeling the energy in the air. "A festival where we can showcase our cultures and learn from one another. We can even invite other worlds to join us." The notion of inviting representatives from other planets added an exciting layer to the plan. It could open doors to even greater alliances, extending the reach of their cultural exchange. As the council discussed logistics, Isha's heart raced with anticipation. However, amidst the excitement, a flicker of doubt crossed Isha's mind. Could they truly sustain this partnership? What if their past misdeeds haunted them? She was determined to ensure their actions spoke louder than their words. But what if trust was a fragile thing, easily broken? As the weeks rolled on, the festival began to take shape. They organized workshops, art exhibitions, and performances that would showcase the talents of both cultures. Isha's crew practiced Aurexian dance and music, while Aurexian artists learned to create murals that told stories of the stars and the cosmos. But even as they worked tirelessly, whispers of dissent began to surface. During a council meeting, an elder spoke up, his voice steady but filled with concern. "While this collaboration has potential, we must remain vigilant. There are those among us who question the wisdom of this alliance. We must not forget the greed of other worlds." Isha felt a chill run down her spine. "I understand your concerns," she replied, "but we are not here to take. We are here to learn. We acknowledge our mistakes and want to honor your culture." The elder nodded, but the unease in the room was palpable. Isha recognized that the shadows of the past were not easily cast aside. They would have to work even harder to prove their sincerity. To foster trust, Isha proposed a series of community projects that would benefit both Aurexians and her crew. "Let's focus on initiatives that have tangible results," she suggested. "We can work together on environmental preservation, art installations, and educational programs. Actions will speak louder than words." The council agreed, and they launched into action. Isha's crew collaborated with Aurexian artisans to create community gardens, showcasing sustainable practices that honored both their cultures. They painted murals that celebrated unity, depicting intertwined vines and celestial bodies, symbols of their shared journey. As they worked side by side, Isha could feel the barriers between them begin to crumble. They shared stories, laughter, and meals, forging connections that transcended their differences. The more they interacted, the more the Aurexians began to see her crew, not as conquerors, but as allies. However, the doubts lingered. Isha found herself frequently drawn to the balcony overlooking the city, lost in thought. She worried about how easily trust could be shattered, and whether the seeds they were planting would bear fruit. One evening, as she stood lost in contemplation, Lyra joined her. "You seem troubled, Captain," she observed gently. "I can't shake the feeling that our efforts might not be enough," Isha admitted. "What if something goes wrong? What if the old wounds resurface and this alliance crumbles?" Lyra looked out over the city, her expression thoughtful. "Trust is a fragile thing, but it is also resilient. It grows in the spaces where we allow vulnerability and honesty to flourish. Your crew has shown commitment. It's essential to give them time to adjust." "But how much time?" Isha pressed, her heart heavy. "I don't want to wait until it's too late." Lyra placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Focus on what you can control. Continue to engage with our culture, share your knowledge, and foster connections. Trust will build itself if you allow it." Taking a deep breath, Isha nodded, appreciating Lyra's perspective. "You're right. I just need to keep pushing forward." The following days saw their efforts ramp up as they prepared for the upcoming festival. Isha organized meetings, focusing on logistics, ensuring that everything was in place for the celebration. Her crew worked tirelessly, preparing performances and exhibitions that would showcase their unity. As the festival day approached, excitement filled the air. The city transformed into a kaleidoscope of colors, with decorations adorning every corner. Music echoed through the streets, and the scent of delicious food wafted from every direction. On the morning of the festival, Isha stood before the gathered crowd, her heart racing with anticipation. The square was filled with Aurexians and her crew, all coming together to celebrate the fruits of their labor. "Welcome, friends," Isha called, her voice ringing out across the plaza. "Today, we celebrate our shared journey, our commitment to understanding, learning, and growing together. Let this festival be a symbol of the bonds we have forged." Cheers erupted from the crowd, and Isha felt the energy of hope and unity wash over her. The day unfolded with performances showcasing the best of both cultures: music, dance, and art that told the stories of their journeys. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in vibrant hues, Isha felt a sense of accomplishment swell within her. They had created something beautiful, a celebration that honored their past while embracing the future. But even in the midst of joy, shadows lingered. As night fell and the festivities continued, Isha noticed a group of Aurexian elders standing apart from the celebration. Their expressions were solemn, their murmurs filled with uncertainty. Concerned, she approached them. "Is everything all right?" she asked, her voice tinged with worry. The silver-haired elder from before turned to her, his eyes heavy with thought. "While we appreciate the effort put forth today, we cannot ignore the doubts that linger among some of our people. The shadows of our past are difficult to forget, and we must tread carefully." Isha felt her heart sink. "I understand your concerns. We are committed to proving ourselves, but I need your guidance. What can we do to alleviate these fears?" The elder regarded her thoughtfully. "Continue to involve our community in." The riverbank was alive with activity, laughter, and the mingling sense of earth and blooming flora. The community project was transforming not only the landscape, but the very fabric of relationships between the Aurexians and Isha's crew. Each day brought new challenges, yet also new triumphs, as they worked together toward a common goal. Isha stood back, surveying the scene as her crew and the Aurexians planted saplings along the riverbank. Tarek was demonstrating a planting technique he had learned during their travels, while Mira and Kale exchanged jokes, their laughter mingling with the sounds of nature. It was a sight that filled her heart with hope. Yet, as she watched, Isha couldn't shake the feeling that their bond was still precarious, hanging by a thread of goodwill. The memory of Kale's earlier skepticism lingered in her mind. Would it truly be enough to overcome centuries of mistrust? "Captain, can I talk to you for a moment?" Lyra's voice cut through her thoughts. Isha turned to see her friend approaching, a serious expression on her face. "Of course, what's on your mind?" "I think we need to discuss the upcoming council meeting," Lyra said, her tone grave. "While the community projects are going well, I've heard whispers that some still question our motives. We can't ignore the lingering distrust." Isha felt her stomach twist at the words. "What do you suggest we do?" "We need to prepare for the meeting more thoroughly than ever. We should present the progress we've made, but also listen to their concerns," Lyra advised. "We must show them that we are committed to this partnership, not just in words but in actions." "Agreed. Let's gather our findings and get testimonials from the community members about their experiences. It will show that we're making a genuine effort," Isha replied, her determination reigniting. As they worked together to prepare for the meeting, Isha felt a sense of urgency driving her. They needed to approach the council with transparency and sincerity, proving that their intentions were honorable. On the day of the council meeting, a palpable tension filled the air. The gathering was held in a large, open amphitheater surrounded by lush greenery, where members of both communities would come together to discuss their progress and address concerns. Isha stood at the forefront, flanked by her crew and several key Aurexian representatives, including Lyra and Kale. The sun shone brightly, casting a warm glow on the assembly, but Isha could sense the weight of skepticism in the crowd. Welcome, everyone, Isha began, her voice steady. Today, we gather not just to share our achievements, but to listen to your thoughts and feelings. We recognize that building trust is a journey, and we're committed to walking that path with you. As she spoke, she scanned the crowd, noticing the wary expressions of some Aurexians, particularly among the elders. She felt her heart race, aware that their past would loom over this gathering like a shadow. Kale stepped forward, her posture confident yet cautious. While we appreciate the efforts made thus far, we must ask, how can we be sure that your intentions are genuine? What assurance do we have that you will not abandon us once your needs are met? Isha took a deep breath, recalling the conversations they had shared during the community projects. I understand your concern, Kale. The history between our worlds has created valid fears, and we don't take that lightly. Our commitment goes beyond this moment. We want to build a sustainable relationship. Words can be empty, an elder interjected, his voice gruff. What have you done to ensure our culture is respected and preserved? We cannot allow ourselves to be swept away in the current of your desires. Isha nodded, appreciating the elder's straightforwardness. That is why we've sought to engage directly with you and the community. We've documented our initiatives, and we're here to share testimonials from Aurexians who have participated in the projects. Terk stepped forward, speaking with enthusiasm. During the river cleanup, I witnessed how hard everyone worked, regardless of their background. We all shared a common purpose, and the results were beautiful. I've come to understand the depth of Aurexian connection to this land. The crowd murmured in response, the tension easing slightly. Isha could see some faces soften, but others remained skeptical. It was clear that a singular story wouldn't be enough to convince them. Let's hear from those who have participated, Isha suggested. Kale, would you like to share your experience? Kale hesitated for a moment, then stepped forward. Initially, I was wary of working with outsiders, but through the river cleanup, I saw the commitment of Isha's crew. They listened when we explained the importance of the river to our people. They didn't just impose their ways, they learned alongside us. Her words resonated in the amphitheater, a shift in perception starting to ripple through the crowd. Isha felt hope bloom within her, but the elder's gaze remained intense. I still worry that this is merely a facade, he said, his voice steady. How can we be certain that you will not exploit us as others have in the past? Isha met the elder's gaze, determined to convey her sincerity. I can't erase the past, but I can promise that we will involve you in every step we take. We are not here to take. We are here to learn and share. We want to create a council that includes representatives from both our worlds, ensuring that Aurexian voices are heard and valued. The crowd buzzed with conversation, and Isha noticed a flicker of interest among some. Perhaps they were starting to see her crew not as conquerors, but as allies. Lyra took the opportunity to elaborate. We propose that this council meet regularly, allowing for ongoing dialogue and collaboration. Together, we can tackle issues that arise, ensuring that our partnership remains strong and respectful. The elder stroked his chin thoughtfully. This is a commendable proposal, but words alone will not sustain us. You must prove your intentions through action, not just in meetings, but in your everyday lives. Isha nodded, a fire igniting within her. Then let us work together to draft a charter for our council. We can set guidelines that ensure accountability and collaboration, creating a framework that protects Aurexian interests while allowing us to grow together. As she spoke, Isha felt a shift in the atmosphere. There was a sense of movement, a willingness to engage. The elder glanced at his fellow council members, exchanging quiet words, and finally, he turned back to Isha. Very well. We will agree to your proposal, but understand that our partnership will be scrutinized closely. Trust must be earned, and we will hold you accountable for your promises. A wave of relief washed over Isha, and she could see the tension beginning to lift from the Aurexians gathered. Thank you. We accept that responsibility wholeheartedly. Together, we can create a partnership that honors both our cultures. As the meeting continued, Isha felt a sense of momentum building. They discussed various initiatives they could undertake, ranging from cultural exchanges to environmental preservation efforts. Each suggestion was met with a growing enthusiasm, and for the first time, Isha felt a genuine sense of unity forming. In the following weeks, the council convened regularly, and Isha watched as the relationships among the members deepened. They shared knowledge, ideas, and laughter, working collaboratively to address challenges and opportunities. One afternoon, as they worked on drafting the council's charter, Lyra approached Isha with a thoughtful expression. "I've been thinking about how we can further solidify our bond. We should consider hosting a cultural exchange festival that showcases the best of both worlds." "That's a fantastic idea," Isha replied, her eyes lighting up. "It would allow us to celebrate our differences while emphasizing our shared values. We could include art, music, food, everything that defines who we are." As the planning began, excitement buzzed through the air. Crew members began preparing performances, Oraxian artists designed murals, and chefs exchanged recipes, each contributing to the vibrant tapestry of the upcoming festival. Isha was particularly drawn to the idea of involving local children in the festival preparations. "Let's create workshops where they can learn about each other's cultures, dance, music, art. It will foster understanding from a young age," she proposed. The council embraced the idea, and soon, children from both communities were participating in workshops, laughing and learning as they created art together. Isha watched with joy as the younger generation began to form friendships, their laughter echoing like a sweet melody. As the festival day approached, anticipation grew. Isha and her crew worked tirelessly to ensure that everything was perfect. The amphitheater was adorned with colorful banners, and stalls showcasing local crafts and cuisine filled the area. On the day of the festival, the atmosphere was electric. Families and friends gathered, their faces alight with excitement. As Isha looked around, she could see the fruits of their labor. The walls of skepticism were beginning to crumble, replaced by a sense of camaraderie and joy. The festival began with performances from both sides, showcasing traditional music and dance. Isha felt a surge of pride as her crew danced alongside the Oraxians, their movements blending seamlessly into a celebration of unity. Children ran between the stalls, their laughter ringing like bells, as they sampled delicious food from both cultures. Isha watched as Kale and Tarek helped the kids create art pieces, their faces lit up with joy and wonder. As the sun began to set, casting a warm golden hue over the amphitheater was abuzz with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism as community members gathered for the crucial meeting. Isha stood at the front, her heart racing as she glanced at Kale, who was flanked by other Oraxian leaders. The atmosphere was heavy with anticipation. They knew they were about to confront the lingering doubts that threatened to unravel the fragile threads of trust they had worked so hard to weave. "Welcome, everyone," Isha began, her voice steady yet warm. "Today, we gather to address your concerns and share the progress we've made together. This partnership is built on transparency and mutual respect, and we want to hear from you." Kale stepped forward, her presence commanding yet approachable. "We understand that many of you have questions about our collaboration and the future of our communities. It's essential for us to have an open dialogue where your voices can be heard." The audience remained silent, but Isha could sense a flicker of interest in their eyes. She took a deep breath, preparing to guide them through the conversation. "We've accomplished much in a short time, but we recognize that trust takes time to build. We want to assure you that we are committed to this partnership for the long haul." A hand shot up from the crowd, an elder, his face lined with years of wisdom and weariness. "How can we be sure you won't abandon us? What happens when you achieve your goals and no longer need us?" Isha felt the weight of the question, its implications echoing the fears that had been festering for years. "That's a valid concern," she replied. "We understand the history that has led to this skepticism. However, our mission is not just about meeting our goals. It's about creating a sustainable future for both our communities. We want to invest in you as much as you invest in us." Kale added, "We are here to learn from each other. The skills and knowledge we share can benefit both communities for generations to come. This isn't merely a transaction, it's a partnership. As the dialogue continued, Isha encouraged community members to voice their thoughts openly. One by one, they expressed their concerns about losing their cultural identity, about the potential exploitation of their resources, and about the sincerity of Isha's crew. "Actions speak louder than words," a young woman from the crowd remarked. "What guarantees do we have that you won't take what you want and leave us behind?" Isha nodded, her expression earnest. "We understand that trust is built through action. That's why we've initiated programs that directly involve Araxians in decision-making processes. We want you to be an integral part of our projects." She shared stories of their collaborative efforts, the river cleanup, the cultural exchange programs, and the festival that had united them all. "We've seen how our communities can thrive together, but we need your input and involvement to ensure that our plans align with your values and needs." Kale chimed in. "Let's consider establishing a community advisory board, where representatives from both sides can work together to ensure that all voices are heard. This way, we can hold each other accountable." The audience murmured, considering the proposal. Isha could see a shift in energy. Some expressions softened, while others still bore the weight of skepticism. The elder who had posed the earlier question leaned forward, his brow furrowed in contemplation. "Creating a board is a start," he said slowly, "but we need to see a commitment to preserving our culture and our land. If this partnership is to be meaningful, we need assurances that our heritage will be respected." "Absolutely," Isha responded, feeling a surge of determination. "We are committed to honoring your traditions. Our projects will integrate Araxian knowledge and perspectives, ensuring that we approach everything with cultural sensitivity." As the meeting progressed, Isha and Kale worked together to address concerns, emphasizing the importance of shared responsibility. They encouraged participants to share their ideas for initiatives that could help solidify the partnership. "I propose a mentorship program," a middle-aged Araxian man suggested. "You could teach us about your technology, and we could share our knowledge of sustainable practices in return." "That's an excellent idea," Terk interjected, his enthusiasm infectious. "We could have workshops where we exchange skills and knowledge, bridging the gaps between our ways of life." The meeting continued, with participants brainstorming various ideas that could promote collaboration and understanding. Each suggestion was met with encouragement and enthusiasm, and slowly but surely the atmosphere began to shift. As the session drew to a close, Isha could sense a palpable change in the crowd's demeanor. While some skepticism still lingered, there was also a growing sense of hope, a recognition that perhaps, just perhaps, they were on the brink of something transformative. "Thank you all for your honesty and courage in sharing your thoughts," Isha said, her voice filled with gratitude. "We are committed to moving forward together, to building a future where our communities can thrive side by side. Let's continue this dialogue and take tangible steps toward realizing our shared vision." As the crowd began to disperse, Isha felt a sense of accomplishment. They had taken a significant step toward healing the wounds of the past and fostering a future of collaboration. But even as she basked in the moment, she couldn't shake the feeling that challenges still lay ahead. In the days that followed, Isha and her crew met regularly with Kale and the Araxian Council to outline the next steps. The Community Advisory Board was established, consisting of representatives from both sides, committed to ensuring that the partnership remained equitable and beneficial for all. They also began drafting plans for the mentorship program, mapping out how they would exchange knowledge and skills. Terk took the lead on this initiative, excitedly brainstorming workshops that would highlight the strengths of both communities. "I'm thinking we could have a series of tech demonstrations to showcase our advances," Terk said, pacing as he spoke. "But we also need to make space for Araxian techniques and practices. Maybe we can integrate them into our tech workshops." "Great idea," Kale agreed. "And we can also share Araxian methods for sustainable farming and environmental stewardship. There's so much we can learn from each other." As they worked, Isha felt a sense of unity blossoming among her crew and the Orexians. The barriers that had once existed were starting to dissolve, replaced by a shared commitment to collaboration and understanding. However, not all was smooth sailing. As the advisory board convened for its first meeting, Isha couldn't shake the feeling of unease. She sensed that there were still voices of dissent lurking beneath the surface, those who would oppose any efforts toward partnership. During the meeting, as they discussed plans for the mentorship program, one of the Orexian representatives spoke up, her tone filled with apprehension. "While I appreciate these initiatives, I still fear that our culture will be overshadowed by yours. We must tread carefully." Isha felt her heart race at the implications of the statement. "I understand your concerns," she replied, her voice calm. "That's why it's crucial for us to ensure that our approaches are collaborative and respectful. We must actively seek Orexian input at every step." Another council member nodded in agreement. "It's important for us to have oversight in these programs. We must ensure that Orexian culture is not just an afterthought, but an integral part of the learning process." Isha took a deep breath, recognizing that this was a pivotal moment. "I hear you, and I promise that we will be vigilant in ensuring that Orexian traditions and practices are prioritized. Let's work together to create a framework that safeguards your culture while also embracing new ideas." The meeting continued, with Isha striving to address concerns and build a foundation for collaboration. However, even as they discussed plans for workshops and exchange programs, she could sense that not everyone was convinced. After the meeting, as they walked outside, Kale approached Isha, her expression serious. "We have made progress, but we need to be vigilant. There are still those in the community who are resistant to change." "I know," Isha replied, feeling the weight of the challenge ahead. "But we can't give up. We must keep the lines of communication open and continue to demonstrate our commitment to this partnership." In the following weeks, Isha and her crew doubled down on their efforts to foster relationships with the Orexians. They organized community events, workshops, and informal gatherings, creating spaces for dialogue and connection. As they worked side by side, Isha noticed a gradual transformation. Orexian families began to open their homes to her crew, inviting them to share meals and traditions. They learned to appreciate the nuances of each other's cultures, the richness that came from their differences. However, not all interactions were smooth. Isha occasionally encountered resistance from some Orexian leaders who remained skeptical, voicing their concerns during council meetings. "This partnership is not without risks," one elder warned. "We must proceed with caution, lest we lose our identity in the process." Isha listened with respect, acknowledging their fears while emphasizing the importance of unity. "We must navigate this path together," she replied. "We have the opportunity to create something beautiful, but it requires trust and collaboration." Despite the challenges, Isha felt a sense of hope growing within her. The bonds formed through shared experiences began to outweigh the shadows of doubt. The cultural exchange programs flourished, and the mentorship initiative was embraced by both communities. As the first workshop approached, Isha felt a mixture of excitement and apprehension. They had worked tirelessly to prepare, but she couldn't shake the feeling that this was a significant turning point, a moment that could either solidify their partnership or threaten to unravel it. The day arrived, and the day of the first mentorship workshop dawned bright and clear, the sun casting a golden hue over the Orexian landscape. Isha stood at the entrance of the community center, a hub of activity buzzing with anticipation. The air was filled with the aroma of traditional Orexian dishes, mingling with the earthy scent of the nearby forest. Children dashed about, laughter echoing off the walls, while elders exchanged pleasantries and ideas. As she took a deep breath to steady her nerves, Terk approached, his eyes sparkling with excitement. "Are you ready for this? I can't wait to show them our technology. It's going to blow their minds." Isha smiled, her heart warming at his enthusiasm. "I'm ready. But remember, it's not just about showcasing our technology, it's about learning from each other. We have so much to gain from their perspectives." "Absolutely," Terk replied. clapping his hands together. Let's make sure we emphasize that. I'll focus on integrating Aurexian techniques into our demonstrations. It'll show that we value their input. As they prepared, Isha glanced around, observing the diversity of the attendees. Aurexians and her crew mingled, their excitement palpable. It was a beautiful sight, an embodiment of the partnership they had fought so hard to forge. The workshop was set to begin in the main hall, decorated with colorful banners representing both cultures. As Isha walked into the room, she felt a wave of energy wash over her. A group of Aurexian children gathered near a table, eagerly peering at the tech devices that her crew had brought along. "All right, everyone, let's gather around," Isha called, clapping her hands to grab their attention. "We're excited to kick off this workshop, where we'll explore the wonders of technology and learn from one another." The crowd settled, and Kale stepped forward, her presence commanding yet warm. "Thank you for joining us today. We are thrilled to embark on this journey together. Our goal is to create an environment where we can exchange knowledge and skills that benefit both our communities." As the introductions wrapped up, Terk took the stage, his excitement infectious. "Today, we're going to show you some of the technology we use back on Earth, things like solar panels, water filtration systems, and communication devices. But we also want to learn about Aurexian techniques for sustainable living, so please feel free to share your insights." Terk began by demonstrating how solar panels worked, engaging the audience with his enthusiasm. He explained the principles of converting sunlight into energy, and the Aurexian expressions shifted from curiosity to awe. Isha felt a surge of pride as she watched them lean in, captivated by the science behind it. Next, Terk introduced a water filtration device. This little machine can purify water from any source, making it safe to drink. We believe that access to clean water is a fundamental right, and we want to help ensure that everyone has it. An Aurexian elder raised his hand, his brow furrowed in thought. "And what happens when the technology breaks? How do you maintain it?" "That's a great question," Terk replied, his excitement undeterred. "Maintenance is crucial. We'll not only teach you how to use this technology, but also how to repair it when necessary. Our aim is to empower you, so you don't become dependent on us." The elder nodded, his skepticism beginning to soften. The conversation continued, each question leading to a deeper understanding of the intersection between their worlds. As Terk wrapped up his segment, he encouraged everyone to ask questions, facilitating an engaging dialogue. After Terk's demonstration, it was Isha's turn to take the stage. She focused on fostering a sense of connection through storytelling. "Let me share a story from my world," she began, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "When we first began exploring the stars, we encountered many challenges, but it was through collaboration that we overcame those obstacles." She spoke of explorers who had ventured into the unknown, sharing how partnerships had enabled breakthroughs in science and culture. As she wove her tale, Isha saw her audience captivated, their eyes wide with interest. "It's the same with our partnership," she continued. "Just as we learned from our predecessors, we can learn from each other. This is not just about technology, it's about building relationships that will last a lifetime." When she finished, the room erupted in applause, and Isha felt her heart swell with hope. The discussions that followed were lively, with Aurexians sharing their own stories of resilience and innovation. They spoke of their ancient practices that prioritized sustainability and community, illuminating the path forward for both sides. Kale took the opportunity to share a demonstration of traditional Aurexian farming techniques, showcasing their deep connection to the land. "We have cultivated crops for generations, using methods that respect the earth and its cycles," she explained. "We believe in working with nature rather than against it." As Kale led the group outside for a hands-on demonstration, Isha marveled at the enthusiasm in the air. The blend of technology and tradition felt like a symphony, each note complementing the other. Participants engaged in planting seedlings while learning about Aurexian agricultural practices, their laughter mixing with the rustling leaves. Isha watched the interactions unfold, her heart full. The Oraxian showed her crew how to plant using techniques that had been passed down through generations, while her crew shared insights about efficient irrigation methods. They were finding common ground, building a bridge between their worlds. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, the workshop transitioned into a community potluck. Each family contributed a dish, creating a vibrant feast that reflected both cultures. The air was filled with the scent of spices, freshly baked bread, and roasted vegetables, a testament to their shared efforts. As they gathered around tables, Isha looked around and felt a swell of gratitude. The evening was a celebration of collaboration, a demonstration of the bonds being forged in real time. It was a stark contrast to the skepticism that had once permeated their interactions. In the midst of the festivities, Isha overheard a group of children excitedly discussing their favorite parts of the day. "Did you see how they use the solar panels? It's like magic," one exclaimed, his eyes wide with wonder. Another child nodded eagerly. "And the way they plant the seeds, can we do that at our house?" Their innocent excitement filled Isha with hope for the future. If the children were embracing this partnership, perhaps the adults would soon follow suit. Later in the evening, as the crowd began to disperse, Kale approached Isha, her expression thoughtful. "Today was a success, but we must remain vigilant. There are still pockets of resistance in our community, and we cannot afford to become complacent." Isha nodded, recognizing the truth in Kale's words. "You're right. We need to continue our efforts to engage everyone, especially those who remain skeptical. It's vital that they see the value in what we're building together." "Let's organize follow-up meetings to discuss the feedback from today," Kale suggested. "We can invite more community members to share their thoughts and ideas." "Absolutely. We need to keep the dialogue open," Isha replied, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. "Perhaps we can host another workshop soon, this time focusing on Oraxian practices. It could encourage participation and further solidify our partnership." As the sun set and the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Isha and Kale stood together, taking in the aftermath of a day filled with possibility. They had overcome a significant hurdle, but Isha knew that challenges would continue to arise. In the following weeks, Isha and her crew worked diligently to sustain the momentum they had built. They organized more workshops, focused on different aspects of their cultures, ensuring that everyone had a voice in the process. However, despite the positive developments, Isha felt an undercurrent of tension brewing in the community. Some members remained resistant to change, fearful of losing their cultural identity. Isha could sense that not everyone was on board, and it weighed heavily on her mind. One evening, as she and Terk were cleaning up after a community event, she confided in him. "I feel like we're making progress, but there are still those who doubt us. I'm concerned that if we don't address their fears directly, we risk losing the trust we've built." Terk sighed, his expression contemplative. "You're right. We need to confront this head-on. Perhaps we could organize a town hall meeting where everyone can voice their concerns openly." "I like that idea," Isha replied, her mind racing with possibilities. "It could be an opportunity for dialogue, allowing us to understand the root of their fears and address them collectively." As they planned the town hall meeting, Isha felt a mixture of hope and trepidation. She knew that vulnerability and honesty would be key, but she also feared that the challenges they faced could threaten to unravel their hard work. On the day of the town hall meeting, the amphitheater was filled with a mix of anticipation and anxiety. Isha stood at the front, flanked by Kale and other representatives from both sides. The atmosphere crackled with tension as community members settled into their seats, ready to voice their thoughts. "Thank you all for being here today," Isha began, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "We recognize that this partnership is not without its challenges, and we want to hear your concerns openly. This is a space for dialogue and understanding." Kale stepped forward, her gaze sweeping over the crowd. "We are committed to creating a future that respects and honors both of our cultures." The amphitheater was alive with murmurs as community members settled into their seats, the atmosphere thick with tension and anticipation. Isha felt the weight of their gazes, each one a reminder of the responsibility she bore in fostering this partnership. With Kale beside her, she inhaled deeply and prepared to address the crowd. "Thank you all for being here today," Isha began, her voice steady yet warm. "We recognize that this partnership is not without its challenges, and we want to hear your concerns openly. This is a space for dialogue and understanding." The crowd remained silent for a moment, a palpable mix of curiosity and skepticism hanging in the air. Isha scanned the faces before her, noting the apprehension etched in many of them. Among the audience, she spotted a few familiar faces, those who had initially been resistant to change. Their expressions were tense, hinting at the lingering doubts that still resided within them. Kale stepped forward, her demeanor calm but resolute. "Our goal is to create a future that respects and honors both of our cultures. We know that trust takes time, and we are here to listen to your thoughts and concerns." Finally, an elder in the front row raised his hand, his voice cracking as he spoke. "We appreciate your efforts, but many of us are still worried. We fear that our traditions will be overshadowed by your technology. How can we be sure that our ways will be respected?" Isha nodded, recognizing the validity of his concerns. "That is a deeply important question. We want to emphasize that our collaboration is not about replacing Orexian practices with ours, but about blending our strengths. Your traditions are invaluable, and they should be preserved and celebrated." Another voice emerged from the crowd, this one belonging to a young woman who had been among the most vocal skeptics in past meetings. "But how can we trust that? You come from a different world, one that we don't fully understand. How do we know you won't just take what you want and leave us behind?" Terk, who had been quietly observing, decided to interject. "I understand your fears. Trust is earned through actions, not just words. That's why we're committed to working alongside you, not just for you. This is a partnership, and we need your guidance to navigate this path together." Isha felt a surge of gratitude for Terk's support. "Yes, we're not here to impose our ideas. We want to learn from you just as much as we hope to share our knowledge. We believe that by working together, we can create something unique, something that honors both of our cultures." The discussion continued, with various community members expressing their apprehensions, some worried about the potential exploitation of their resources, while others voiced concerns about cultural appropriation. Each question was met with empathy and understanding, and Isha and Kale worked together to address the fears raised. As the hours passed, Isha felt the atmosphere gradually shifting. While skepticism still lingered, there was also a growing sense of possibility, a recognition that this dialogue could lead to a deeper understanding and a more equitable partnership. When the meeting finally concluded, Isha felt a mix of relief and gratitude. They had opened the door to honest conversation, laying the groundwork for a stronger relationship. Yet she knew that the path ahead would not be without obstacles. In the days that followed, Isha and Kale remained committed to fostering the partnership. They organized follow-up meetings with a community advisory board, where Orexian representatives could share their thoughts and provide feedback on the initiatives they had begun to implement. During one such meeting, a young Orexian man named Kayan, who had previously been skeptical, spoke up. "I've been thinking about what we discussed at the town hall. It's great that we're collaborating, but we need to ensure that Orexian values are central to everything we do." Isha nodded, feeling a surge of hope. "Absolutely. We need to create a framework that prioritizes Orexian perspectives while allowing for innovation. Your input is invaluable in shaping our initiatives." Kale added, "Perhaps we could establish specific guidelines for any projects we undertake, ensuring that they align with Orexian values. This way, we can hold each other accountable." Kayan's expression softened, and he nodded in agreement. "I think that could work. If we're involved in the decision-making process, it will help us feel more secure in this partnership." As the meeting continued, they discussed various initiatives, including cultural exchange programs and sustainability projects that integrated both Orexian and Earth-based practices. Isha felt a sense of optimism building as they brainstormed ideas, envisioning a future where their communities could thrive together. However, the growing sense of hope was soon overshadowed by unexpected developments. One evening, Isha received word that a group of Oraxian dissenters had organized a protest against the partnership, claiming that it threatened their way of life. The news rattled Isha, and she quickly convened an emergency meeting with Kale and the advisory board. As they gathered, the tension in the air was palpable. "I can't believe this is happening," Kale said, her brow furrowed with concern. "We've made so much progress, and now there are people actively opposing us." Isha nodded, her heart heavy. "We need to address this head-on. We can't let fear dictate our future. We have to engage with those who oppose us and understand their perspective." "Perhaps we could invite them to a dialogue," Terk suggested. "A forum where both sides can voice their concerns and seek common ground." "That's a good idea," Isha replied, feeling a flicker of determination ignite within her. "We need to create a space for honest conversation, where everyone can express their fears without judgment." The group discussed potential approaches, strategizing ways to engage with the dissenters. They emphasized the importance of transparency and open communication, hoping to dispel misconceptions and build trust. In the days that followed, Isha and her crew worked diligently to organize the forum. They reached out to community members, inviting those who opposed the partnership to share their concerns. It was a daunting task, but Isha was determined to bridge the divide. As the day of the forum approached, Isha felt a mixture of anxiety and hope. The atmosphere was charged with uncertainty, but she knew that this was a crucial opportunity to address the dissent and foster understanding. On the day of the forum, the community center was filled with a mix of supporters and dissenters. Isha took a deep breath as she stepped onto the stage, flanked by Kale and Terk. She could feel the tension in the air, the weight of the moment pressing down on her. "Thank you all for being here today," Isha began, her voice steady yet earnest. "We understand that there are differing opinions regarding our partnership, and we want to create a space for open dialogue. This is an opportunity for us to listen to each other, to voice our concerns, and to find common ground." Kale continued, her tone resolute. "We're here because we believe in the power of collaboration. We want to understand the fears and concerns that have led to opposition, and we are committed to addressing them." The first voice to rise from the crowd was that of a middle-aged woman, her face a mask of frustration. "You come here, bringing your technology and ideas, but do you even understand the impact it has on our culture? We have lived in harmony with the land for generations. What guarantees do we have that you won't disrupt our way of life?" Isha felt a pang of sympathy for the woman's concerns. "I understand that change can be daunting, especially when it feels like it threatens your way of life. We're not here to impose our ideas, we want to learn from you. Your knowledge is invaluable, and we believe that together we can find a way forward that honors both of our cultures." As the forum continued, voices from the dissenting group emerged, each expressing their fears and frustrations. They spoke of the loss of identity, the potential exploitation of resources, and the uncertainty that the partnership had created. With each voice, Isha listened intently, her heart heavy with understanding. These were not just abstract concerns. They were deeply personal, rooted in a love for their land and culture. In the midst of the dialogue, Terk interjected, "We want to assure you that we respect your traditions and values. Our aim is to create a future that benefits both communities. We are here to collaborate, not to conquer." Slowly, some dissenters began to soften. One young man, who had previously voiced his opposition, spoke up. "I appreciate your willingness to listen. But how can we be sure that our voices will truly matter in this partnership?" "That's why we're here," Isha replied, her voice steady. "We want to create mechanisms that ensure Oraxian perspectives are central to our initiatives. We need your guidance to make sure we're moving in the right direction." As the forum progressed, a shift began to take place. While skepticism still lingered, there was also a growing recognition that this dialogue could lead to understanding and collaboration. Community members began to voice ideas for initiatives that could integrate both cultures, fostering a sense of unity. By the end of the forum, Isha felt a sense of relief wash over her. They had opened the door to conversation, and while challenges remained, there was now a willingness to engage and collaborate. In the weeks that followed, the dialogue continued. Isha and her crew remained committed to addressing the concerns of the dissenters, working tirelessly to build trust and understanding. They organized follow-up meetings where community members could share their thoughts and ideas. Through these discussions, Isha witnessed the power of vulnerability and transparency. The weeks following the forum brought a renewed sense of purpose to the Oraxian community. With open dialogue established, both the dissenters and supporters began to find common ground. Isha and her team worked tirelessly to implement the feedback received, transforming the discussions into actionable plans that would honor both cultures. As the sun rose on a crisp morning, Isha gathered her crew for a meeting. They convened in the community center's main hall, the walls adorned with vibrant Oraxian art, a testament to the rich culture that enveloped them. "All right, team," Isha began, her tone upbeat. "We've heard from both sides, and now it's time to take our ideas and turn them into concrete initiatives. The community is eager to collaborate, and we need to ensure that we're moving in a direction that benefits everyone." Terk leaned forward, excitement shimmering in his eyes. "I've been thinking about the sustainable farming techniques Kale demonstrated. What if we combined those with our technology? We could create a program that focuses on eco-friendly practices." Isha nodded, encouraged by Terk's enthusiasm. "That's a great idea. We can introduce smart irrigation systems that conserve water while allowing Oraxian farmers to maintain their traditional practices." Kale, who had joined them for the meeting, smiled. "I love the idea of integrating technology with our farming methods. This could not only enhance our crop yields, but also help educate our younger generation about sustainability. Let's also ensure that we involve the farmers in the design process," Isha suggested. "Their insights will be invaluable in creating a system that works for everyone." As they brainstormed, a sense of camaraderie filled the room. The team bounced ideas off one another, crafting a vision for a program that would unite their cultures through sustainable practices. They discussed workshops, training sessions, and community events aimed at fostering collaboration and knowledge sharing. The following week, Isha, Terk, and Kale organized a community workshop to unveil their plan. They invited local farmers, families, and anyone interested in learning about the new initiatives. The response was overwhelmingly positive, with eager participants filling the seats in the community center. "Thank you all for being here today," Isha began, her voice steady as she stood before the crowd. "We're excited to share our vision for a sustainable farming initiative that combines Oraxian practices with Earth-based technology. Together, we can create a model that respects both our cultures while promoting environmental stewardship." The audience listened intently as Terk presented the idea of integrating smart irrigation systems with traditional farming techniques. He explained how these systems could conserve water, optimize crop growth, and provide real-time data to help farmers make informed decisions. Kale followed up, highlighting the importance of maintaining Oraxian methods while embracing innovation. "Our ancestors have cultivated this land for generations, and we want to honor that legacy. By merging our techniques, we can strengthen our community and preserve our way of life." The workshop turned interactive as community members began to ask questions and share their thoughts. Isha felt a rush of excitement as she witnessed the collaboration unfolding. Farmers shared their experiences, offering insights into their practices and suggesting ways to improve the proposed systems. As the day progressed, Isha sensed a shift in the atmosphere. The earlier skepticism had begun to wane, replaced by a growing sense of unity and purpose. People were sharing ideas, laughing, and engaging in discussions that transcended their differences. When the workshop concluded, participants left with a renewed sense of hope. Isha watched them go, feeling a surge of optimism. They had taken a significant step toward building a collaborative future, one where technology and tradition could coexist. In the following months, the team worked diligently to implement the Sustainable Farming Initiative. Isha, Terk, and Kale organized training sessions, teaching Araxian farmers how to use the smart irrigation systems while integrating their traditional practices. As the program gained momentum, Isha began to witness tangible changes. Fields that had once struggled with water scarcity now thrived, and the farmers expressed their gratitude for the new resources. The community was embracing the partnership, recognizing the benefits it brought to their lives. One afternoon, while visiting a farm with Terk, Isha felt a surge of joy as she observed the fields bursting with vibrant crops. Farmers were engaged, working side by side with her crew to optimize their harvest. The laughter and chatter filled the air, a symphony of collaboration that warmed her heart. "This is incredible," Terk said, grinning as he surveyed the scene. "Look at how they're using the technology. It's like they've always known how to incorporate it." Isha smiled, her spirit buoyed by the success they were witnessing. "It's a testament to the power of collaboration. When we listen and learn from each other, amazing things happen." Just then, Kale approached, her expression bright. "I've received feedback from the farmers, and they're thrilled with the progress. They want to host a celebration to mark the success of our partnership." "That's a fantastic idea," Isha exclaimed, her heart swelling at the thought. A celebration would be a perfect way to recognize the hard work everyone has put in. The three of them began brainstorming ideas for the event. They discussed traditional Araxian festivities, music, and food, envisioning a day that would honor both cultures while celebrating their achievements. As the days turned into weeks, the preparations for the celebration took shape. The community center buzzed with excitement as families contributed their time and resources to ensure the event would be memorable. On the day of the celebration, the atmosphere was electric. Colorful banners adorned the community center, and the aroma of delicious Araxian dishes wafted through the air. Families gathered, their laughter mingling with the cheerful melodies of traditional music. Isha stood at the entrance, taking in the scene. She felt a sense of fulfillment wash over her. This was what they had worked toward, a celebration of unity and collaboration. As the festivities began, Isha took to the stage alongside Kale and Terk. The crowd cheered, their faces alight with joy. "Thank you all for joining us today," Isha began, her heart full. "This celebration is a testament to the power of our partnership. Together, we have overcome challenges and forged a path toward a brighter future." Terk continued, his voice filled with enthusiasm. "Today, we honor not just our achievements, but the rich traditions that each of you bring to this collaboration. Let's celebrate the blending of our cultures and the strength that lies in our unity." Kale stepped forward, her eyes shining. "This is just the beginning. Together, we can continue to innovate, learn, and grow. Let's embrace the future while honoring our past." The crowd erupted in applause, the energy palpable. As the celebrations unfolded, community members showcased traditional dances, shared stories, and feasted on a buffet of dishes that reflected both cultures. As the sun began to set, casting a golden hue over the festivities, Isha felt a surge of gratitude. They had come so far from the initial skepticism that had permeated their meetings. Now, they stood together, united in their shared vision. Later in the evening, as the festivities continued, Isha noticed a group of children playing nearby, their laughter ringing out like music. She couldn't help but smile, feeling hopeful for the next generation. "Look at them," Terk said, standing beside her. "They're growing up in a world where collaboration is the norm. It's beautiful to see." Isha nodded, her heart swelling with pride. This is what it's all about, building a future where our cultures can coexist and thrive together. As the celebration drew to a close, Isha took a moment to reflect on the journey they had undertaken. The challenges they had faced had only strengthened their resolve, and the partnerships they had formed were a testament to the power of unity. But just as she felt a sense of accomplishment, a shadow loomed on the horizon. A rumor began to circulate among some community members, sparked by a few dissenters who still harbored doubts. Whispers of exploitation and hidden agendas resurfaced, threatening to unravel the progress they had made. Isha sensed the tension in the air, and her heart sank. She knew they had to address the concerns head-on, but she also recognized the need for patience and understanding. As the days turned into weeks, Isha and her team remained vigilant. They organized follow-up meetings, inviting community members to voice their concerns and share their perspectives. But despite their efforts, the whispers persisted, casting a shadow over the partnership they had worked so hard to build. One evening, as Isha and Terk sat together reviewing community feedback, she expressed her worries. "I'm afraid we're losing the momentum we've built. These rumors are spreading like wildfire, and I don't know how to combat them." Terk sighed, his expression contemplative. "We need to confront this directly. We can't let fear dictate our future. Let's organize a community forum specifically to address these concerns, where we can provide transparency and clarity." "I agree," Isha replied, determination creeping into her voice. "We need to reinforce our commitment to collaboration and ensure everyone understands our intentions." As they prepared for the forum, Isha felt a mix of anxiety and resolve. They had overcome obstacles before, and she knew that honesty and openness would be their greatest allies. On the day of the forum, the atmosphere was charged with anticipation. The community center was filled with people, some eager to engage and others still skeptical. As Isha took the stage, she could feel the weight of their gazes upon her. "Thank you for coming today. We understand that there are concerns circulating within our community, and we want to address them directly. Isha took a deep breath, steadying herself against the weight of the community's scrutiny. "Our partnership was founded on the principles of transparency, respect, and mutual growth. We are here to reinforce that commitment and to clarify any misunderstandings that may have arisen." The crowd murmured, some nodding in acknowledgement, while others exchanged skeptical glances. Kale stood beside Isha, her presence a reassuring reminder of their shared purpose. Terk took a step forward, addressing the crowd. "We want to open the floor to you all. Please share your concerns openly, and we will do our best to address them. We believe that together we can find a way forward." The first voice to rise from the audience belonged to an older woman who had been a vocal opponent of the partnership. "You say you're here to help us, but how can we trust that you won't take our resources and leave us worse off? We've heard rumors that you're looking to exploit Oraxian land for your own gain." Isha felt a pang of frustration, but kept her tone measured. "I assure you, our intentions are to support and uplift the Oraxian community, not to exploit it. We are committed to working alongside you, respecting your land, and preserving your traditions. The sustainable farming initiatives we've implemented are designed to empower you, not take from you." "But how do we know that?" Another voice chimed in, this one belonging to a younger man. "There are stories circulating about the technology you're using. What if it fails? What if it disrupts our way of life rather than enhances it?" Isha nodded, acknowledging the concern. "Those are valid questions. Technology can be unpredictable, which is why we are dedicated to ensuring that it is implemented thoughtfully and with Oraxian input. We want to create systems that are adaptable and resilient, and your feedback is crucial to that process." A murmuring of agreement swept through the crowd as Isha continued. "We recognize that trust takes time, and we're here for the long haul. If we fail to meet your expectations, we want you to hold us accountable. This partnership is about collaboration, not control." Kale added, "We understand that change is challenging, but we believe that by working together, we can create solutions that benefit both our cultures. We want to hear your ideas on how to ensure this technology complements your traditions rather than replacing them." The atmosphere in the room began to shift as more voices joined the conversation. People began sharing their concerns and experiences, but also their hopes for the partnership. Isha felt encouraged as the dialogue deepened, and the community members started to engage more openly. After several more questions, an elder rose from the back of the room. "I have seen much change in my lifetime, and I know that progress can bring uncertainty. But I also see the determination in your eyes. If you are committed to honoring our ways and listening to us, then perhaps there is hope for this partnership." His words resonated with many in the audience, and Isha seized the opportunity to reinforce the message of collaboration. We are committed to learning from you, not just in the implementation of technology, but in every aspect of this partnership. We want to understand your needs, your values, and your hopes for the future. The forum continued for hours, with community members sharing their thoughts, fears, and aspirations. Isha felt a sense of relief wash over her as the dialogue transformed from skepticism to a genuine exploration of possibilities. By the end of the forum, the atmosphere was lighter, filled with cautious optimism. As the crowd dispersed, Isha, Terk, and Kale gathered to discuss the outcomes. "I think we made some real progress today," Terk said, his face beaming. "People are starting to see us as allies rather than outsiders." Kale nodded in agreement. "We still have a long way to go, but opening this dialogue is a significant step forward. We need to continue fostering this trust." "I agree," Isha added. "Let's plan more forums like this, where we can engage the community regularly. We need to make sure everyone feels heard and valued." In the weeks that followed, Isha's team organized additional community meetings, creating spaces for ongoing discussions. They incorporated feedback from the forums into their initiatives, demonstrating their commitment to transparency and collaboration. One evening, as Isha reviewed the notes from the latest meeting, she felt a wave of exhaustion wash over her. They had made strides, but the path ahead remained challenging. The shadows of doubt still loomed, and she knew that they couldn't afford to lose the momentum they had gained. Just then, Terk knocked on her door, his expression serious. "Isha, we need to talk. I've been hearing more whispers, and it seems some individuals are trying to stir unrest again." Isha's heart sank. "What do you mean? I thought we were making progress." Terk took a seat across from her. "It seems there are those who are determined to undermine our efforts, spreading rumors that we're here to exploit the land and drain its resources. It's not just talk, they're actively trying to rally support against us." "What can we do?" Isha asked, frustration bubbling to the surface. "We can't let them derail everything we've worked for." "We need to confront this head-on," Terk suggested. "We could organize a larger community meeting, invite those spreading these rumors, and address their concerns directly. We need to show that we're not afraid of scrutiny." Isha nodded, determination igniting within her. "Yes, we need to face this challenge with transparency. If we ignore it, it will only fester. Let's schedule that meeting as soon as possible." As they made plans for the meeting, Isha felt a sense of resolve. She had learned that vulnerability and openness were powerful tools in building trust. They had to confront the doubts directly and reaffirm their commitment to the Oraxian people. A few days later, the community center buzzed with anticipation as the meeting approached. Isha could sense the tension in the air, but she also felt a flicker of hope. This was their chance to reinforce their dedication to the partnership. On the day of the meeting, the crowd was larger than usual. A mix of supporters and skeptics gathered to hear what Isha and her team had to say. As Isha took the stage, she felt the weight of their expectations pressing down on her. "Thank you all for coming today," she began, her voice steady despite the anxiety churning in her stomach. "We understand that there are concerns circulating about our partnership, and we want to address those head-on." A voice cut through the crowd, belonging to a familiar dissenting figure. "You claim to be here to help us, but how do we know you're not just taking advantage of our land for your own gain?" Isha took a deep breath, prepared for this challenge. "I understand your concerns. It's natural to feel apprehensive, especially when change is involved. But I assure you, our goal is not to exploit, but to empower. We want to work alongside you to create sustainable solutions that benefit both our communities." Another voice joined in, a younger woman who had been part of the dissenting group. "But what happens if the technology fails? What's your backup plan? We can't afford to lose our way of life because of untested systems." "That's a fair question," Terk interjected. "We are committed to testing and adapting our technology in collaboration with you. If something doesn't work, we'll pivot together. Your input will guide every decision we make." Isha felt a shift in the crowd as more community members began to engage, asking questions and voicing their concerns. With each exchange, she could feel the tension gradually dissipating. They were no longer speaking at each other, they were having a genuine conversation. As the meeting continued, Isha noticed a turning point. The skeptics began to express their hopes, sharing ideas for how they could incorporate Oraxian traditions into the partnership. The dialogue shifted from fear to possibility, a shared vision for a future that honored both cultures. When the meeting concluded, Isha felt a wave of relief wash over her. They had faced the doubts head-on and emerged stronger. The community was beginning to see them as partners rather than outsiders. In the weeks that followed, the atmosphere continued to shift. Community members began to take ownership of the initiatives, suggesting their ideas for sustainable practices and cultural exchanges. The partnership was evolving into something beautiful, a tapestry woven from the threads of both cultures. But as the partnership flourished, so did the challenges. Isha soon learned that not everyone was willing to embrace the change. A faction within the community began to organize more aggressively, determined to undermine the initiatives and rally support against the partnership. One evening, as Isha reviewed feedback from the latest community meeting, Tarek entered her office with a grave expression. "Isha, it's getting worse. The dissenters are becoming more organized. They're planning a rally to protest our initiatives." Isha's heart sank. What do they hope to accomplish? We've made so much progress. They're spreading misinformation and rallying people around the idea that we're here to take from them, not to help, Tarek replied, frustration evident in his voice. We need to confront this before it spirals out of control. Determined not to let fear dictate their future, Isha called an emergency meeting with her team. They gathered in the community center, the atmosphere tense as they discussed their strategy. We need to counter this rally with our own event, Isha suggested. A celebration of our partnership, showcasing the positive changes we've made. We need to remind the community of the progress we've achieved together. Kale nodded, her expression resolute. A celebration sounds like a powerful way to reinforce our commitment and showcase the benefits of our partnership. We need to invite everyone, including those who oppose us. Let's make it an open event where people can see the positive impact we're making. Tarek leaned forward, enthusiasm igniting in his eyes. Yes, we could feature demonstrations of the sustainable farming techniques we've implemented, share success stories from the farmers who have benefited, and offer interactive workshops. This could be our chance to turn the tide. Isha felt a spark of hope. Let's also include cultural performances, music, dance, and storytelling that highlight Oraxian traditions. It's essential to remind everyone of the rich heritage we're celebrating together. The team began brainstorming ideas, fueled by a sense of urgency. They divided tasks, assigning roles for planning, logistics, and outreach. Isha could feel the energy in the room building as they mapped out their vision for the event, transforming their concerns into a proactive approach. Over the next few weeks, the preparations for the celebration consumed their time and energy. The community center became a hive of activity, adorned with colorful decorations and banners that showcased the partnership's achievements. Local farmers volunteered their time to share their experiences, while musicians and dancers rehearsed for their performances. As the day of the celebration approached, Isha felt a mixture of excitement and anxiety. They were not just fighting against dissent. They were standing up for their shared vision of a future that honored both Oraxian and Earth traditions. On the day of the event, the community center buzzed with anticipation. Isha arrived early to oversee the final preparations. The air was filled with a tantalizing aroma of traditional Oraxian dishes, and laughter echoed through the halls as families arrived, eager to participate. Isha glanced around, taking in the vibrant atmosphere. Colorful banners fluttered in the breeze, and a stage was set up for performances. She could feel a wave of optimism wash over her, and she knew that today was more than just a celebration. It was a testament to the power of unity. As the event kicked off, Isha took the stage, her heart pounding with excitement. "Thank you all for being here today," she began, her voice resonating through the crowd. "Today, we celebrate the incredible partnership we've built together, the blending of our cultures, the shared successes, and the promise of a brighter future." The crowd erupted in applause, and Isha felt the energy of their support. She introduced Terk, who presented a series of success stories from local farmers who had benefited from the sustainable farming initiatives. Each story highlighted the ways in which technology had enhanced traditional practices, creating a more resilient agricultural system. As Terk spoke, Isha observed the crowd's reactions. She could see skepticism giving way to curiosity, and it filled her with hope. After Terk's presentation, Kale took the stage, sharing the cultural significance of Oraxian farming methods and the importance of preserving their traditions. "Today is not just about technology. It's about honoring our ancestors and learning from their wisdom," Kale emphasized. "By combining our practices, we can create a future that respects our heritage while embracing innovation." Following Kale's heartfelt words, the first performance began a lively dance showcasing traditional Oraxian movements. The rhythm of the music echoed through the community center, inviting everyone to join in. As people began to dance, Isha felt a sense of unity enveloping the space. Families laughed and clapped along, and soon the dance floor filled with participants of all ages, each moving together in celebration. The atmosphere shifted from skepticism to joy, and Isha couldn't help but smile as she watched her community come together. After the performances, Isha and her team set up interactive workshops where attendees could engage directly with the sustainable farming techniques. Farmers eagerly shared their experiences, demonstrating the smart irrigation systems and the innovative practices they had adopted. As Isha moved through the crowd, she overheard conversations filled with excitement and curiosity. "I didn't realize how much this could benefit us," one farmer remarked to another. "Maybe we should try it on our fields." Isha felt a rush of gratitude. The event was achieving its purpose, fostering connection and encouraging collaboration. But as the day unfolded, she couldn't shake the feeling that the dissenters would not sit idly by. Just as Isha was about to address the crowd again, she spotted a group of dissenters at the back of the room, their expressions tense. Among them was the woman who had first questioned their intentions at the last forum. Isha knew that confronting them directly could escalate tensions, but she also understood the importance of addressing their concerns openly. "Let's keep the energy positive," she reminded herself. As the celebrations continued, the crowd erupted into applause after another vibrant performance. Isha seized the opportunity to approach the dissenters. She walked over, a sense of determination guiding her steps. "Thank you for coming today," Isha said, her voice steady as she approached the group. "I know there are concerns about our partnership, and I want to understand your perspective." The woman from the back crossed her arms, her expression guarded. "You expect us to trust you after all we've heard? How do we know this isn't just a show?" Isha met her gaze, refusing to back down. "I understand your skepticism, but I want you to know that our intentions are genuine. We're here to collaborate, and we're committed to making this partnership work. I invite you to share your thoughts and ask questions so that we can address them directly." Another dissenting member chimed in. "We want to see real accountability. Words alone won't change anything." Isha nodded, acknowledging their concerns. "Absolutely. I encourage you to bring your ideas and suggestions to our ongoing community meetings. We're here to listen and learn. Your voices are essential to this partnership." The group exchanged glances, and Isha sensed a flicker of curiosity in their expressions. She took a step back, allowing them space to process her words. "I truly believe we can find common ground if we work together. This celebration is just the beginning." As the day progressed, the atmosphere continued to shift. The dissenters remained skeptical, but Isha sensed that they were beginning to engage, if only slightly. It was a small victory, but she knew it was a step in the right direction. As the celebration came to a close, Isha felt a sense of accomplishment. They had not only showcased the partnership's successes, but also fostered dialogue that could lead to a more unified community. In the weeks that followed the celebration, Isha and her team continued to work diligently, building on the momentum they had generated. The workshops and community meetings were more well attended, and even some of the dissenters began to participate, albeit cautiously. But just as things seemed to be moving in a positive direction, a new challenge emerged. Reports started circulating about the environmental impact of their initiatives, claims that the technology they had introduced was harming local ecosystems and traditional farming methods. Isha felt a knot form in her stomach as she read through the feedback. "This is not what we intended," she muttered, frustration boiling within her. "We need to address these claims quickly." Tarek, who had been reviewing the reports alongside her, nodded. "We should arrange a community meeting to discuss these concerns. Transparency is key here. We need to show that we are willing to listen and adapt." Isha agreed, knowing that they could not afford to let fear and misinformation take hold again. They quickly organized a meeting, inviting community members to voice their concerns and provide feedback. On the day of the meeting, the atmosphere was tense. As Isha stood before the crowd, she could feel the weight of their gazes upon her, the skepticism still lingering. "Thank you all for joining us today," she began, her voice steady. "We're here to address the concerns regarding the environmental impact of our initiatives. We want to clarify our approach and understand your perspectives." A familiar voice rose from the crowd, belonging to the same woman who had questioned them before. "You claim to be helping us, but what about the harm this technology is causing? Our crops are suffering, and we need answers." Isha felt the urgency of the moment. "We take these claims seriously, and I assure you that we will investigate any negative impacts thoroughly. Our goal is to enhance your practices, not undermine them." Another community member added, "We've noticed changes in the soil quality and some of the crops dying. This is not just a rumor, it's affecting our livelihoods." "We need to conduct a thorough assessment," Tarek interjected. "We'll work with you to identify the issues and determine the best course of action. Your insights are invaluable in this process." As the discussion continued, Isha felt a sense of determination wash over her. They had faced challenges before, and they could navigate this one together. But it would require collaboration, trust, and a commitment to accountability. After the meeting concluded, Isha and her team met to discuss the next steps. They agreed to engage environmental experts to assess the impact of their technology and work closely with the farmers to gather data on any changes they had observed. In the weeks that followed, they conducted assessments, collecting feedback from farmers and monitoring soil health. Isha felt a sense of urgency as they worked to address the community's concerns, knowing that trust was fragile and needed to be rebuilt. One afternoon, as Isha reviewed the data collected, Tarek entered her office with a serious expression. "Isha, we need to talk. The environmental assessments are showing some concerning trends." Isha's heart sank. "What are we looking at?" "We've identified some negative impacts on soil health in certain areas where the technology." Isha's heart sank as Tarek shared the findings. The implications were serious, and she knew that the community's trust hung in the balance. "What are the specifics?" she asked, steeling herself for the worst. Tarek took a deep breath, his brow furrowed in concern. "We've noticed a decline in soil nutrient levels in areas where our smart irrigation systems are in use. It appears that the constant moisture is creating conditions that some traditional crops aren't able to thrive in, leading to lower yields." Isha felt the weight of this revelation pressing down on her. "What does this mean for our initiatives? Can we reverse these effects?" Tarek shook his head. "It's not just a simple fix. We need to work closely with the farmers to understand their practices and see how we can adjust our technology. We may need to modify the irrigation schedules and explore crop rotation strategies." Isha nodded, her mind racing. "We have to be transparent about this. We can't hide our mistakes. The community needs to know what's happening, and they need to see that we are taking responsibility." "Agreed," Tarek replied. "But we need to prepare for the backlash. They may see this as confirmation of their worst fears about us. Let's hold another community meeting, Isha suggested. We need to present the findings honestly and outline our plan to address the issues. We can't afford to lose their trust again. That evening, Isha gathered her team to organize the meeting. They brainstormed how to present the information, ensuring they emphasized their commitment to collaboration and improvement. They needed to demonstrate that they were partners in this journey, willing to adapt and learn. As the day of the meeting approached, Isha felt a growing sense of dread. She understood that the community had every right to be angry, and the prospect of facing that anger was daunting. But she also felt a sense of resolve. They had to confront this challenge head-on. On the day of the meeting, the atmosphere was charged with tension. Community members filled the center, their faces a mix of curiosity and skepticism. Isha took a deep breath as she stepped onto the stage, acutely aware of the stakes. "Thank you all for being here today," she began, her voice steady despite the knot in her stomach. "We've called this meeting to address some serious concerns regarding the environmental impact of our initiatives." As she spoke, she presented the findings from the assessments, detailing the decline in soil health and the challenges farmers were facing. She could feel the energy in the room shift as she revealed the data, the murmurs of concern growing louder. "Your concerns are valid, and we take them seriously," Isha continued, her heart pounding. "We want to be transparent about these issues and work together to find solutions. We are committed to making the necessary adjustments to our technology and practices to better support Araxian farming." One of the dissenters, the same woman from previous meetings, stood up, her expression fierce. "How can we trust you? This is exactly what we feared. You come here with your technology, and now you're harming our land." Isha met her gaze, determination flooding her. "I understand your anger. You have every right to feel betrayed. But I assure you, we didn't come here to harm your land. Our goal is to learn from you, to adapt our practices, and to ensure that we can work together for a sustainable future." Another voice rose from the crowd. "But what if the damage is already done? We've lost crops, and our families depend on farming for survival. I know that our mistakes have real consequences, and for that, I'm truly sorry," Isha said, her voice earnest. "We want to create a plan that includes you. We need your insights to understand how we can restore the health of the soil and support your traditional farming practices." As the meeting progressed, Isha outlined a proposed action plan that included working closely with farmers to adjust irrigation schedules, implement crop rotation strategies, and monitor soil health. She emphasized that their input would guide every step of the process. "Let's create a task force composed of both Earth representatives and Araxian farmers," she suggested. "This group can meet regularly to assess the situation, share findings, and adjust our approach as needed. Together, we can ensure that our technology enhances rather than disrupts your way of life." The crowd began to murmur, a mix of skepticism and curiosity. Isha could sense a shift, a willingness to engage rather than simply oppose. The dissenters had raised valid points, but now they were being invited to take part in the solution. Slowly, hands began to rise as community members expressed their willingness to participate. The energy in the room transformed from anger to collaboration, and Isha felt a wave of relief wash over her. After the meeting, as people filed out of the center, Isha caught sight of the dissenting woman. She was deep in conversation with a farmer, their voices animated as they discussed the next steps. Isha approached cautiously. "Thank you for being here today," Isha said, her voice sincere. "I know this hasn't been easy." The woman turned to Isha, her expression softening slightly. "I appreciate your honesty. I still have my doubts, but I can see that you're trying. If you're willing to work with us, then maybe we can find a way forward." Isha nodded, grateful for the opening. "I truly believe we can create a partnership that respects your traditions while also embracing innovation. Your input is essential." In the days that followed, the newly formed task force began meeting regularly, bringing together Earth representatives and Araxian farmers to collaborate on solutions. The discussions were intense but constructive, as everyone worked to bridge the gap between their practices. As Isha engaged with the farmers, she found herself learning more about Araxian agricultural methods, their history, and their connection to the land. The farmers shared stories of their ancestors and the traditional techniques that had sustained them for generations. One farmer, an elder named Makoa, took Isha under his wing. "You must understand the land as we do," he explained during one of their meetings. "The soil speaks to us, and we must listen. It tells us when it's hungry, when it's tired, and when it needs rest." Isha listened intently, absorbing every word. "How can we incorporate this wisdom into our technology?" she asked. Makoa smiled, appreciating her willingness to learn. "We need to work with the seasons, not against them. Your technology must adapt to the natural rhythms of the land. If we can time the irrigation with the natural rainfall and use our traditional crops wisely, we can create a sustainable system." With Makoa's guidance, Isha began to see the possibilities of merging their approaches. They worked together to redesign irrigation schedules that considered local weather patterns and soil health. The farmers shared their experiences with crop rotation, and Isha explored how technology could support rather than hinder those practices. Over time, the task force began to yield results. Farmers reported improvements in their crop yields, and soil health assessments showed positive trends. Isha felt a sense of pride as the community started to see the benefits of their collaborative efforts. But even as progress was made, the shadow of dissent still loomed. The faction that had originally opposed them continued to rally support, seeking to undermine the positive changes. Isha knew that they needed to confront this head-on. One evening, as she was preparing for another community meeting, Terk entered her office, his expression grave. "Isha, there are rumors circulating that some members of the community are planning a protest against our initiatives again. They believe we're still harming the land, despite the improvements." Isha felt a surge of frustration. "We can't let them undermine everything we've worked for. We need to organize a larger forum, invite everyone including the dissenters so we can address their concerns directly." Terk nodded, but a look of doubt crossed his face. "We can try, but we need to prepare for the possibility that they may not want to listen. We've made progress, but it could be fragile." "I understand," Isha replied, steeling herself. "But we can't give up. If we retreat now, it will send a message that we're afraid to confront the issues. We must be willing to stand up for what we believe in." The following week, Isha organized a forum, inviting the entire community to participate. As she stood before the crowd, she felt a mixture of nerves and determination. This was their chance to reaffirm their commitment to collaboration and address the dissenters directly. "Thank you all for coming today," she began, her voice steady as she faced the crowd. "We're here to discuss the concerns surrounding our partnership and the impact of our initiatives on the land. We want to hear your voices and work together to find solutions." As she spoke, she acknowledged the progress they had made, but also the challenges that remained. She invited members of the task force to share their experiences and successes, emphasizing the collaborative nature of their work. But just as she finished, the dissenting woman stood up again, her expression fierce. "You say you're listening to us, but what about the voices that are still being silenced? Our land is still suffering." Isha felt the tension in the room rise, but she remained composed. "I understand your anger, and I'm here to address it. We want to hear from everyone, including those who are skeptical of our efforts. Your input is invaluable, and we are committed to making this partnership work." The crowd began to engage, voices rising as they shared their concerns. Some expressed skepticism about the data they had presented, while others voiced their hopes for a sustainable future. Throughout the discussion, the atmosphere in the community center was electric, charged with both tension and hope. Isha stood at the forefront, feeling the weight of the community's scrutiny. She knew they were at a crossroads, a moment that could either solidify their partnership or fracture it irreparably. As the dissenting woman continued to voice her concerns, Isha felt a mix of frustration and empathy. "I hear you," she said, her voice firm yet compassionate. It's crucial that we acknowledge the pain and fear that our actions have caused. But we are committed to making this right. Another voice rang out from the crowd, a farmer named Rami who had been skeptical from the start. You talk about commitment, but where are the tangible results? How do we know things are getting better? Isha glanced at Tarek, who was standing nearby, his expression focused. We've been collecting data on soil health, crop yields, and water usage, he began, stepping forward. We want to share these results with you, but we also need your input to ensure that we're interpreting the data correctly. With that, Tarek pulled up a projector, displaying graphs and charts that illustrated the recent changes. As the visuals lit up the room, Isha saw some skeptical faces begin to soften, if only slightly. Here you can see the trends in soil nutrient levels over the past few months, Tarek continued, pointing to a graph showing a gradual improvement. We've been able to identify specific areas where adjustments have led to better outcomes. The room filled with murmurs as community members leaned forward to scrutinize the data. Isha felt a flicker of hope. Maybe this transparency would bridge the gap. Makoa, the elder farmer, stood up, his voice steady. These numbers are encouraging, but they must reflect our real experiences. We need to ensure that what you're measuring aligns with what we see in our fields. Exactly, Rami chimed in. We want to participate in this assessment, not just be subjects of it. If we are to rebuild trust, we need to be part of the process. Isha felt her heart race as she realized this was a pivotal moment. We can work together to set up a joint assessment committee, she proposed. This committee would consist of both Earth representatives and Aurexian farmers. Together, we can collect data, monitor progress, and evaluate the impacts on our farming practices. The crowd began to buzz with interest. The dissenters, who had previously been so vocal in their opposition, now seemed intrigued by the idea of collaboration. I'll join, Makoa said, a hint of a smile on his lips. But only if we can have equal say in the decisions that are made. Absolutely, Isha assured him. This is about partnership, not hierarchy. Your voices matter, and we need them to guide our efforts. The conversation continued, and Isha could feel the tension in the room beginning to dissipate. The community members were starting to see the potential for genuine collaboration. After several hours of discussions, the forum came to a close, and Isha felt a mixture of exhaustion and exhilaration. They had faced the dissent head-on, and while it was clear that many challenges remained, the seeds of trust were beginning to sprout. As people filed out of the community center, Isha caught the eye of the dissenting woman. Thank you for being willing to engage, she said sincerely. I know this hasn't been easy. The woman studied Isha for a moment before nodding. You've surprised me. If you're serious about including us, then maybe we can find common ground. That evening, as Isha reviewed her notes from the forum, Tarek entered her office, a sense of pride in his posture. You handled that beautifully. I think we made real progress today. Thanks, Tarek. I just hope it's enough to keep the momentum going, Isha replied, her fingers drumming on the table. We need to act quickly to establish that joint assessment committee and get the ball rolling. Agreed, Tarek said. But we also need to prepare for potential pushback from those who remain skeptical. Not everyone will be convinced by today's discussions. Isha nodded, aware of the ongoing challenges. Let's set up a follow-up meeting with the task force and start drafting a proposal for the committee. We need to move fast to capitalize on this momentum. Over the next week, the team worked diligently to outline the structure and goals of the Joint Assessment Committee. They planned to hold an open meeting where community members could come to learn about the committee's purpose and sign up to participate. As the day of the meeting arrived, Isha felt a mix of anticipation and anxiety. They set up the community center to accommodate a larger crowd, and Isha hoped that the momentum from the previous forum would carry through. When the meeting began, the atmosphere was more upbeat than in previous gatherings. Community members were chatting and sharing their experiences, and Isha felt encouraged as she took the stage. Thank you all for coming today, she began, her voice filled with enthusiasm. This is an exciting step forward in our partnership, and I'm thrilled to see so many of you here. Today, we're launching our Joint Assessment Committee, which will allow us to monitor the impacts of our initiatives together. She outlined the committee's goals, emphasizing collaboration and shared decision-making. The crowd listened attentively as she explained how they would work together to collect data, assess results, and adapt their strategies. After her presentation, community members were invited to ask questions. Hands shot up, and Isha felt a surge of energy in the room. "Will we have a say in the data collection methods?" asked a farmer named Leela, her brow furrowed in concern. "Absolutely," Isha replied. "We want your insights to guide our methods. This is a collective effort, and your expertise is essential to ensure we're accurately reflecting your experiences." Another voice chimed in. "What happens if we find that the technology is still harming our land? Will you take that seriously?" Isha met the question head-on. "Yes, if we find evidence that our technology is causing harm, we will reevaluate our approach. Our goal is to create solutions that benefit both the land and your livelihoods." The meeting continued, and more farmers expressed their willingness to join the committee. Isha could feel a palpable shift in the atmosphere. People were beginning to feel hopeful again. As the meeting wrapped up, she noticed the dissenting woman from earlier in the week at the back of the room. She approached cautiously, sensing that the woman still held reservations. "I appreciate your willingness to engage today," Isha said. "I know trust takes time, but I genuinely want to hear your thoughts." The woman regarded her for a moment before speaking. "You've shown that you're willing to listen. That's a start. But I still worry that the technology will overshadow our traditions." Isha nodded, understanding the woman's concerns. "That's why this committee is so important. We can ensure that your voices guide the process. Together, we can create a balance between tradition and innovation." In the weeks that followed, the Joint Assessment Committee began to take shape. Farmers and Earth representatives met regularly to collect data, discuss their findings, and evaluate the impacts of the initiatives. The atmosphere during the meetings was collaborative, and Isha felt a renewed sense of optimism. But just as things seemed to be stabilizing, a new challenge emerged. Reports began circulating about a group of farmers who were resisting the technology entirely, refusing to participate in the assessment process. Isha learned that they were spreading rumors about the dangers of the smart irrigation systems and encouraging others to abandon the initiatives altogether. One afternoon, Tarek approached Isha, concern etched on his face. "I've heard whispers that some farmers are organizing a protest against the technology. They believe it's a threat to their way of life." Isha felt her stomach drop. "We can't allow fear and misinformation to take hold again. We need to address this head-on and engage with those farmers directly." "We should hold a town hall meeting," Tarek suggested. "An open forum where we can address their concerns and share our findings directly." Isha nodded, feeling a surge of determination. "Let's do it. We need to create a space for dialogue and ensure that everyone has a chance to voice their opinions." The town hall meeting was organized quickly, and Isha felt a mix of nerves and excitement as the day approached. She understood that they needed to confront the dissenters directly, but she was also hopeful that they could foster understanding. On the day of the meeting, the community center was packed. Farmers filled the seats, their expressions a mix of curiosity and skepticism. Isha took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. "Thank you all for coming," she began, her voice steady. "We're here today to discuss the concerns surrounding our initiatives and to address the rumors that have been circulating." She presented the findings from the Joint Assessment Committee, detailing the improvements they had seen in soil health and crop yields. As she spoke, she could feel the tension in the room. Many were skeptical, while others seemed to engage with the data. After her presentation, a farmer named Amir stood up, his voice filled with emotion. "We've heard the numbers, but what about our traditions? The technology feels like an invasion into our way of life. How can we trust that this is truly beneficial?" Isha felt a pang of empathy for Amir's concerns. "I understand your fear. Our goal is to enhance your practices, not replace them. We're here to learn from you, and we want to ensure that your traditions are preserved." Another farmer chimed in, "But what?" The atmosphere in the community center was thick with tension as Isha faced the crowd of skeptical farmers. Each question and concern echoed her own internal struggles about the project, and she felt the weight of their fears pressing down on her. The farmer named Amir, who had expressed deep concern about the invasion of technology, continued, "You say you want to learn from us, but how can we trust that you won't prioritize your technology over our practices? Our ancestors have farmed this land for generations. We know it, and we know how to take care of it." Isha took a deep breath, choosing her words carefully. "Amir, I fully respect the traditions that have been passed down through generations. They are the foundation of this community, and they are invaluable. Our intention is to work alongside you, to complement your practices with technology that can provide support, not replacement." A murmuring spread through the crowd, as some farmers nodded while others remained unconvinced. Isha could feel the division grow and knew she had to find a way to bridge the gap. "Let's explore a practical example," Isha suggested, trying to redirect the conversation. "We have seen success with the new irrigation schedules in certain areas. Farmers who have chosen to implement them alongside their traditional methods have reported increased yields and healthier crops. I'd like to invite some of those farmers to share their experiences." With a nod of agreement from Terk, a few farmers stood up, including Leela, who had joined the Joint Assessment Committee. "I can speak to this," she said, stepping forward. "At first, I was hesitant, but I decided to try the smart irrigation system on a small section of my farm. The results have been incredible." The crowd quieted as Leela continued. "I combined the technology with my traditional crop rotation practices. The soil is healthier than it's ever been, and I've seen an increase in the yield of my crops. It's allowed me to provide for my family more reliably." Isha could see the glimmers of interest in the crowd, but skepticism still lingered in the air. Amir crossed his arms, still unconvinced. "But what about the farmers who haven't seen those results? You're cherry-picking examples to make your case." "Fair point," Isha replied, acknowledging Amir's concern. "That's why we need transparency. I want to establish open lines of communication, where we can share not only the successes but also the challenges. We can gather data from all types of farms, those that have adopted the technology and those that have not. This way, we can learn from each other." Another farmer spoke up, a man named Rashid. "You talk about learning, but we've seen our neighbors abandon their traditional methods entirely. If this technology is so great, why are there farmers in this community struggling?" Isha felt her heart sink at Rashid's words. "That's an important question," she said, leaning into the moment. "We need to understand why some farmers are struggling. Is it a lack of information? Is the technology not working as intended? We can't address these issues unless we discuss them openly." The crowd fell into a contemplative silence. Isha sensed that they were beginning to process her words, but there was still a long way to go. "I propose we hold workshops," she said, feeling a surge of determination. "Workshops where we can gather farmers, both those who have embraced the technology and those who haven't, and share our experiences. This will allow us to analyze not just what works, but why it works." Rami, who had been skeptical, raised his hand again. "And will we have a say in how these workshops are conducted? Can we ensure that our voices are valued in these discussions?" "Absolutely," Isha assured him, her heart racing with hope. "These workshops will be designed collaboratively. Your input will shape how we gather and share information." The energy in the room shifted slightly as farmers began to talk amongst themselves. Isha could see flickers of curiosity and willingness to engage, and she knew this was a breakthrough moment. After several more questions and discussions, Amir finally spoke again, his tone softer. "I appreciate what you're trying to do, Isha, but you must understand that trust takes time. We've been burned before, and it's hard to believe that things will be different this time." "I understand," Isha replied, her voice steady and sincere. I know that rebuilding trust is a process, and I'm committed to doing everything I can to earn it. We need you to be part of that process. We need your knowledge and expertise." The meeting concluded with an unexpected sense of unity. Many farmers expressed their interest in participating in the proposed workshops, and there was a palpable shift in the air. Isha could feel that the ground was shifting beneath them, slowly but surely. As the community members left the center, Tarek approached Isha, a smile on his face. "You did well today. I think we've made real progress." "Thanks, Tarek. But we can't stop here. We need to get those workshops rolling," Isha said, her mind racing with ideas for the upcoming sessions. "We need to make sure everyone knows they're welcome and that their voices will be heard." In the following weeks, Isha and her team worked diligently to organize the workshops. They created a schedule that allowed for flexibility, inviting farmers to participate at their convenience. The goal was to foster an environment of open communication, where they could share experiences and collectively seek solutions. The first workshop attracted a diverse crowd, with farmers from various backgrounds and beliefs. Isha felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness as she prepared to lead the session. She knew that the success of these workshops could either solidify the partnership or create further divides. "Welcome, everyone," Isha said, addressing the gathering with a warm smile. "I'm thrilled to see so many of you here. Today, we're here to share our experiences, both positive and negative, regarding the initiatives. Let's create a space where we can learn from each other." The session began with farmers sharing their experiences. Some spoke passionately about the successes they'd seen with the smart irrigation systems, while others detailed the challenges they faced when trying to adapt to the new technology. As the discussions unfolded, Isha facilitated, encouraging everyone to speak freely. She noticed that even those who had been skeptical at previous meetings began to engage. The atmosphere shifted from one of division to one of collaboration. During a break, Isha approached Amir, who had been listening intently. "I appreciate your presence here today," she said. "Your perspective is invaluable." Amir looked thoughtful. "It's hard to let go of the past, you know. But hearing the successes from others makes me wonder if there's a way to balance our traditions with what you're offering." "That's exactly what we're aiming for," Isha replied, feeling a surge of hope. "We can create a hybrid approach that respects your traditions while also incorporating the benefits of technology." As the workshop continued, the group delved into brainstorming sessions, generating ideas for how they could work together to improve outcomes. Isha could see the enthusiasm building, and she felt a renewed sense of optimism. By the end of the workshop, the farmers had committed to forming smaller groups that would continue to meet and share experiences. Isha felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. They had taken a significant step toward rebuilding trust. In the following weeks, the workshops continued, each one bringing more farmers into the fold. Isha was heartened by the increasing participation and engagement, and she could see the momentum building. However, not everyone was pleased. A faction of dissenters remained skeptical, rallying against the new direction. Isha learned that they were spreading misinformation about the technology, claiming it would ruin the land forever. One evening, as Isha was reviewing data from the workshops, Tarek entered her office, a frown on his face. "We need to talk about the dissenters. They've been actively campaigning against us, and it's affecting attendance at the workshops." "What are they saying?" Isha asked, a knot forming in her stomach. "They're claiming that our technology is destroying soil health, and they're urging people not to engage with us," Tarek replied, frustration evident in his tone. "We need to confront this misinformation head-on." Isha knew they had to act quickly. "Let's organize another town hall meeting. We need to address these claims directly and present our data. Transparency is our best weapon against misinformation." As the town hall meeting approached, Isha felt a mix of anxiety and determination. She knew that this was their opportunity to clarify their intentions and reinforce their commitment to the community. On the day of the meeting, the community center was filled to capacity. The air was thick with anticipation as Isha took the stage. She could see the faces of both supporters and dissenters, their expressions reflecting the divide within the community. "Thank you for coming," Isha began, her voice steady. "We're here today to address the concerns that have been raised about our initiatives and the technology we've introduced." She presented the data collected from the workshops, emphasizing the positive outcomes while also acknowledging the challenges faced by some farmers. She made it clear that they were committed to addressing the issues and continuing to adapt their approach based on community feedback. As Isha spoke, she could see the skepticism in the eyes of the dissenters, but she pressed on, determined to engage with their concerns. Amir stood up, his voice ringing clear. "You've shown us some successes, but we need to know, what about the farmers who haven't benefited? Will you still support them?" "Absolutely," Isha replied, her heart pounding. "We will work to ensure that no one is." The room was electric as Isha faced the community, her heart racing. The skepticism in Amir's question hung heavily in the air, a challenge she knew needed a thoughtful response. "Yes, we are committed to supporting all farmers, especially those who have not seen the benefits of our initiatives. Our goal is to create an inclusive approach that ensures everyone can thrive." "Words are nice, but what does that really mean?" Amir pressed, a brow furrowed in skepticism. "What concrete actions will you take?" Isha paused, gathering her thoughts. "We'll establish focus groups that will specifically address the needs of farmers who haven't found success. We'll work together to identify what's not working and brainstorm potential solutions. This way, we can tailor our approach and adapt our technology to better fit your practices." A murmur of conversation rippled through the crowd. It was clear that many were listening closely, weighing her words. "I also want to ensure that we don't just collect data for our sake, but that we share it transparently with you. We want you to see the full picture, not just the highlights." Another farmer, a woman named Fatima, raised her hand. "I've tried the technology and honestly, it's been a mixed bag for me. Some things have improved, but I worry about relying too heavily on it. If it fails, what happens to my family?" "I appreciate your honesty, Fatima," Isha said, her tone softening. "That's a valid concern. Our aim is to create a backup plan for those moments when technology fails. We can explore ways to ensure that traditional methods remain viable and are not discarded in favor of technology." Fatima nodded, but her expression remained cautious. Isha could sense the reluctance, not just from her, but from many others in the room. They were still grappling with the uncertainty that accompanied change. Another farmer, Rashid, chimed in. "If we're going to make this work, we need to be part of the decision-making process. We can't just be told what to do. We need to have a voice in shaping how this technology is integrated." "Absolutely," Isha affirmed, her determination strengthening. "The formation of the focus groups will allow you to have a significant role in these decisions. We need your insights to ensure we are addressing your real needs, not just our assumptions." The meeting continued, with Isha addressing concerns and facilitating discussions. Slowly, the mood in the room began to shift. People were talking, sharing their own experiences, and brainstorming together. Isha felt a surge of hope. This was the kind of dialogue they needed. As the town hall wrapped up, a sense of cautious optimism filled the room. People lingered to talk, and Isha could feel the barriers slowly crumbling. But she knew the dissenters still posed a threat. Their campaign against the technology could sow discord if left unchecked. In the following days, Isha, Tarek, and the Joint Assessment Committee worked tirelessly to establish the focus groups. They mapped out a strategy that would include representatives from all corners of the community, ensuring that both supporters and skeptics were heard. As they prepared for the first focus group meeting, Isha felt a mix of anticipation and anxiety. They needed to show that they were committed to collaboration and that they valued every voice. On the day of the first focus group, Isha arrived early to set up the room. The atmosphere felt charged with potential as farmers trickled in, some eager and others still guarded. She welcomed each participant, recognizing familiar faces and some new ones, including a few dissenters who had been particularly vocal in the past. Thank you all for coming today, Isha began, her voice steady. This focus group is an opportunity for us to discuss what's working, what's not, and how we can adapt our approach to better meet your needs. As the meeting unfolded, farmers began to share their experiences. Some praised the benefits of the technology, while others voiced their frustrations and challenges. Isha listened intently, taking notes and encouraging everyone to express their thoughts. At one point, Amir raised his hand. I want to go back to what Fatima said earlier. We're not just worried about technology failing. We're worried about what happens to our farms if it does. We need a safety net, something to fall back on. Isha nodded, feeling the weight of his words. That's a crucial point. Perhaps we can explore creating contingency plans for when technology doesn't work as expected. We could also provide training on traditional methods to ensure that everyone feels equipped to farm without relying solely on technology. The discussion flowed naturally, and Isha was heartened to see participants actively engaging. She felt that they were genuinely beginning to collaborate, and the group dynamic was shifting from skepticism to a more collective approach. As the focus group concluded, Isha sensed that they had laid the groundwork for a deeper understanding between Earth representatives and the farmers. She felt a wave of relief wash over her. They were starting to see the potential for partnership. In the weeks that followed, the focus groups continued to meet regularly. Each session brought new insights and ideas, and Isha felt grateful for the growing collaboration. But the dissenters were not sitting idle. They organized a protest to voice their opposition to the technology and the Earth representatives' influence. When Isha heard about the planned protest, she felt a knot tighten in her stomach. This was not just a matter of disagreement. It was a challenge to the fragile trust they had been building. We can't let this happen without addressing it, she told Terk. We need to show that we're willing to engage in open dialogue, even with those who oppose us. Terk nodded, his brow furrowed in concern. We should organize a public forum to discuss their grievances. If we can open a channel of communication, maybe we can alleviate some of their fears. With determination, Isha set about organizing the forum. She reached out to both supporters and dissenters, inviting everyone to share their concerns and solutions openly. The goal was to create a safe space for dialogue, even amidst the protest. On the day of the forum, the community center was packed. Tension crackled in the air, as both supporters and dissenters filled the seats. Isha felt her heart race as she took the stage, the weight of expectation heavy upon her shoulders. Thank you for being here, Isha began, her voice steady. Today, we are here to discuss the concerns surrounding our initiatives and to hear directly from you, both supporters and dissenters. It's essential that we create a space for open dialogue. As she spoke, she could see the divide in the room. Supporters nodded along, while dissenters crossed their arms, their expressions guarded. Isha knew she had to tread carefully. Let's start with the dissenters. I want to hear your concerns, and I want to assure you that your voices matter, she continued. Please, share what's on your mind. A man from the dissenting faction stood up. You've come here with your technology, promising us the world, but many of us have seen friends and neighbors struggle. You say you want to help, but what if it's too late for them? What will happen to those who can't adapt? Isha felt a pang of empathy for the man's anguish. I understand that fear, and it's valid. We are committed to ensuring that no one is left behind. Our goal is to work collaboratively to address these issues, and we want to explore ways to support those who are struggling. Another dissenting farmer spoke up. You keep saying we need to adapt, but many of us don't want to adapt. We want to keep our traditions alive. How can we trust you when it feels like you're pushing us away from our roots? That's a vital point, Isha replied, her voice steady. We're not here to erase your traditions. We're here to find a way to incorporate them into our practices. The technology should complement what you already do, not replace it. Your knowledge is invaluable, and we need it. As the forum continued, farmers on both sides began to engage in conversation, voicing their concerns, frustrations, and hopes. Isha facilitated the dialogue, encouraging everyone to listen to one another. As the discussions unfolded, she noticed a gradual shift in the tone of the dissenters. Some began to express willingness to explore the potential benefits of the technology, while others shared their fears and sought reassurances. "I want to believe you," a dissenting woman said, her voice wavering. "But trust is hard to build when we've been let down before." "I know," Isha replied, her heart aching for her community. "That's why I'm committed to being transparent with you. Let's continue these conversations and ensure that we are all involved in the decisions being made." The forum continued for hours, with farmers engaging in heartfelt discussions. By the end of the evening, the atmosphere had shifted significantly. While there were still dissenters, many began to see the value in collaboration. As the forum concluded, Isha felt a sense of hope. They had opened the door to communication, and while challenges remained, they were beginning to find common ground. In the weeks that followed, the atmosphere in the community shifted. The workshops and focus groups continued to foster collaboration, and Isha felt encouraged as she saw more farmers engaging with the technology. But just as they seemed to be making progress, a significant storm rolled in, threatening to upend everything they had worked for. The rains were heavier than anyone had anticipated, and Isha watched in horror as floodwaters began to rise in the fields. The next morning, as the skies cleared, Isha and Terk ventured out to assess the damage. They found farmers. The morning sun broke through the dissipating clouds, casting a golden hue over the flooded fields. Isha and Terk trudged through the mud, their boots sinking with each step. The devastation was worse than they had anticipated. Crops that had thrived just days before now lay submerged, their once vibrant greens reduced to wilted browns. "This is a disaster," Terk said, shaking his head as he surveyed the destruction. Many of these farmers relied on these crops for their livelihoods. This storm could set us back months, maybe even years. Isha felt a lump in her throat. She had spent weeks working to build trust and collaboration within the community, and now this calamity threatened to unravel everything. "We need to act quickly," she replied, her voice firm despite her worries. "We can't let this defeat us. We have to come together as a community to support those affected." As they reached the heart of the community, they found farmers gathered, their faces etched with concern. Some were surveying their fields, while others were discussing what steps to take next. Isha's heart ached as she watched them. She knew that their fears extended beyond the immediate loss of crops. "We need to organize relief efforts," Isha said, raising her voice to be heard over the murmurs. "We must come together to support those who have lost their harvests. Let's set up a meeting to discuss how we can provide immediate assistance." Amir stepped forward, his expression serious. "I appreciate your intentions, Isha, but we're dealing with a lot right now. How do we know that this isn't just another initiative that will come and go without real support?" Isha met his gaze, her determination unwavering. "I understand your skepticism, Amir, but I'm here to show that our commitment goes beyond technology. We're a community, and it's crucial that we help one another in times like these. Let's create a task force to assess the damage and organize relief." A woman named Fatima, her eyes brimming with tears, chimed in. "My family's entire yield was washed away. I don't know how we're going to recover from this. We need immediate help." "Fatima, I'm so sorry," Isha replied, her heart heavy. "We will do everything we can to assist you and your family. Let's create a plan together. We can establish a fund for recovery efforts, coordinate volunteer labor to help with replanting, and source supplies for those in need." As discussions began to unfold, Isha felt the atmosphere shift slightly. While the pain of loss was palpable, there was also a flicker of resilience among the farmers. They were willing to band together, despite their earlier divisions. The community meeting that evening was packed. Farmers filled the room, their expressions a mix of fear and determination. Isha stood at the front, flanked by Terk and Amir, who had reluctantly joined the effort. "Thank you all for coming on such short notice," Isha began, her voice steady. "We're here to discuss how we can support each other during this crisis. We're stronger together, and I believe that we can overcome this challenge." Terk took the floor, outlining the immediate steps they could take. First, we'll assess the damage to each farm and determine who needs the most help. We'll establish a volunteer network to assist with cleanup and replanting efforts. We also need to create a fund for those who have lost their entire harvest. Rashid raised his hand. How will we fund this? Many of us are struggling to make ends meet as it is. Isha stepped in. I propose that we start with a community fundraiser. We can organize events, reach out to local businesses for donations, and even set up a crowdfunding campaign online. I'll take the lead on this, and I encourage anyone willing to help to join me. As the meeting progressed, farmers began to share ideas and resources. Some suggested tapping into local businesses that had thrived during the previous seasons, while others offered to contribute labor. Isha felt a sense of hope. They were coming together, driven by a common purpose. After the meeting, as people began to leave, Amir approached Isha. I still have my doubts about your initiatives, but I have to admit, your leadership tonight was impressive. You've shown that you care about us as a community. Thank you, Amir, Isha replied, a wave of relief washing over her. This is just the beginning. Together, we can turn this tragedy into an opportunity for growth and resilience. In the days that followed, the task force sprang into action. They organized volunteer teams, assessed the damage, and set up a community fundraiser. The atmosphere was buzzing with activity as farmers worked side by side, their shared purpose igniting a renewed sense of camaraderie. Isha spent her days rallying support, meeting with local businesses, and coordinating efforts to gather supplies for those in need. She was heartened to see how quickly the community rallied together, each member contributing their unique skills and resources. Fatima became one of the central figures in the relief efforts, organizing food drives and helping coordinate logistics for those who needed immediate assistance. Her strength inspired others, and Isha could see how the community was starting to rebuild not just their farms, but their trust in one another. However, amidst the flurry of activity, Isha remained aware of the dissenters who still questioned the role of Earth's representatives. Rumors began circulating that the technology had contributed to the flooding, a claim that struck at the heart of Isha's efforts. She knew they needed to address this narrative head-on. One evening, as she prepared for a community meeting, she decided to confront the issue directly. We need to discuss the rumors surrounding our initiatives and the recent storm, she announced, gathering everyone's attention. I want to clarify that the flooding was a natural disaster. It was not caused by the technology we've introduced. But what about the irrigation systems? Rashid interjected. Many of us feel that they've altered the natural flow of water. How do we know they didn't contribute? Isha took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the accusation. I understand your concerns, and I want to address them with transparency. We're currently working with experts to analyze the situation. We will provide you with a detailed report outlining the impact of our initiatives on water management, and will ensure you have access to that information. Amir nodded, showing support for Isha's commitment to transparency. If we can understand what went wrong, maybe we can prevent similar issues in the future. But we need to be sure you're taking our concerns seriously. Absolutely, Isha responded, her determination renewed. I want to involve you in this process. Let's work together to find solutions that prioritize both technology and our traditional practices. The room fell silent as farmers contemplated her words. While the path ahead remained uncertain, Isha felt a shift toward cooperation and understanding. The focus on shared solutions could potentially unite them in the face of adversity. In the weeks that followed, Isha and the task force worked tirelessly to coordinate relief efforts and establish the fundraiser. They organized community events, from bake sales to harvest festivals, and people began to rally around the cause. During a particularly successful fundraiser, local musicians donated their time for a concert, and local businesses contributed food and supplies. The atmosphere was filled with laughter and joy, a stark contrast to the somber mood that had prevailed just weeks before. As the evening progressed, Isha found herself speaking with a young farmer named Nabil, who had recently joined the focus groups. I didn't believe in what you were doing at first, he admitted. But seeing the community come together like this has changed my perspective. It feels good to be a part of something positive. I'm glad to hear that, Nabil, Isha replied, a smile spreading across her face. This is just the beginning. We can continue to grow together, combining our knowledge and resources to build a stronger community. As the concert ended and people began to leave, Isha felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. They had raised a significant amount of money for the relief fund, and the community had united in a way she hadn't thought possible just weeks earlier. However, the challenges were far from over. While the relief efforts were making progress, Isha knew that restoring trust and collaboration would require ongoing work. The dissenters still lingered, and the whispers of doubt had not completely faded. One evening, as Isha sat down to review the data collected from the focus groups, Tarek entered her office, a serious expression on his face. We need to talk about the dissenters. I've been hearing more rumors that they're planning to escalate their protests. Isha felt a knot form in her stomach. What are they saying? They're claiming that we're taking advantage of the situation, using the flood to push our technology. They're rallying support against us, saying we're not truly invested in helping the community, Tarek explained. Isha felt her heart race as she processed his words. We can't let this happen. We need to address their concerns openly and demonstrate our commitment to the community. Tarek nodded, his brow furrowed in thought. Perhaps another public forum is in order. We need to create a space for dialogue, but we also need to ensure we're proactive in sharing our plans for moving forward. With urgency, Isha set about organizing the forum. She wanted to ensure it was a safe and respectful environment where all voices could be heard, including dissenters. It would be crucial to confront the rumors head-on while reinforcing their commitment to the community. On the day of the forum, the tension in the air was palpable. Isha stood at the front of the community center, looking out at a sea of familiar faces. Some were eager, others skeptical, but all were present to engage in what had become a pivotal moment for their community. Tarek stood beside her, his presence a reassuring reminder that they were in this together. Thank you all for coming, Isha began, her voice steady despite the nerves fluttering in her stomach. Today, we're here to discuss the challenges we've faced as a community in light of the recent storm and the rumors surrounding our initiatives. I want to create an open space for dialogue, where every voice can be heard. She paused, scanning the room. Amir and several other dissenters were seated in the back, arms crossed, their expressions guarded. The atmosphere felt charged, but Isha was determined to bridge the divide. I understand that many of you have concerns about the impact of the technology we've introduced. I want to assure you that we are committed to transparency and collaboration. Our aim is to support you, not to impose anything upon you, Isha continued, her eyes locking onto Amir's. Amir shifted in his seat, his brow furrowing. It's easy to say you want to support us, but what proof do we have? Many of us are still struggling, and it feels like the technology has become more of a burden than a blessing. Isha took a deep breath. Your concerns are valid, Amir. That's why I propose that we collectively review the data from our initiatives. Let's analyze what has worked and what hasn't, so we can adjust our approach moving forward. Another voice emerged from the crowd, a woman named Layla, who had been a vocal opponent of the technology. But what happens if we find that the technology has hurt our land? Are we just going to discard everything and go back to how things were? Isha felt a sense of urgency wash over her. No, Layla, we can't just go back. But we can learn. We have to take a hybrid approach, integrating what we know works with new methods. Together, we can create a sustainable model that respects both our traditions and the advancements in technology. A murmur of agreement rippled through the room. Isha sensed a crack in the armor of skepticism, and she pushed forward. I want to hear from everyone today. What are your fears? What do you want to see change? Let's come together to chart a path forward. The discussions began to flow, with farmers sharing their experiences and concerns. Some praised the technology for its efficiency, while others recounted instances where it had fallen short. Isha listened intently, taking notes and encouraging everyone to speak their minds. As the dialogue continued, Rashid stood up. "I want to reiterate something important. Trust has to be rebuilt. It's not enough for you to tell us you want to support us. We need to see action. We need to be involved in every step of the process." "Absolutely," Isha replied, nodding earnestly. "Our focus groups are a crucial part of that process. I invite all of you to participate and voice your opinions. Your insights will shape the decisions we make." "Will you commit to sharing all data openly?" Amir asked, his expression skeptical yet inquisitive. "We need to know the full impact of these technologies on our farms and our environment." "I commit to that," Isha said, her voice unwavering. "We will ensure all findings are accessible and will hold regular meetings to discuss them as a community." As the forum continued, the atmosphere began to shift from one of skepticism to cautious optimism. Farmers who had previously been opposed to the technology started to engage in discussions about how they could integrate it alongside traditional methods. Fatima, who had been a quiet observer, spoke up. "What if we set up trial runs? We could test different technologies on a small scale to see what truly benefits us without fully committing until we're ready." "I think that's an excellent idea," Isha replied, her heart racing with hope. "Pilot programs could provide us with real-time data and insights. We can learn from those experiences and adjust accordingly." As the meeting wrapped up, Isha felt a surge of positivity. They had turned a corner, moving from division to collaboration, but she knew there was still work to be done. The dissenters were not completely convinced, and Isha needed to ensure that the trust being built would not erode at the first sign of trouble. In the weeks that followed, the task force continued to meet regularly, working to implement the ideas discussed during the forum. Isha felt invigorated by the renewed spirit of collaboration, and the farmers began to come together in ways she hadn't anticipated. They organized pilot programs where technology was tested alongside traditional farming methods. Each trial was documented, and results were shared openly within the community. Isha felt a sense of pride watching the farmers take ownership of the process, their willingness to experiment reflecting their resilience. However, just as things began to stabilize, another storm loomed on the horizon both literally and figuratively. Meteorologists predicted heavy rains, and Isha's gut tightened at the thought of another potential disaster. One afternoon, as she reviewed the data from the pilot programs, Tarek entered her office, his expression serious. "We need to talk about the upcoming weather. The forecasts are indicating a significant storm is headed our way, and we should prepare the community." "I know," Isha replied, her heart heavy. "But how do we prepare for something we can't control? We've just started rebuilding trust. If the storm hits, we might lose all that we've gained." Tarek nodded, a furrow forming on his brow. "We can't prevent the storm, but we can prepare the community. Let's organize a meeting to discuss emergency protocols and ensure everyone has what they need to weather the storm." They quickly put together a community meeting, focusing on preparedness. Isha spoke passionately about the importance of safeguarding their farms and families, urging everyone to stock up on supplies and reinforce their fields. She stressed that they needed to come together, not just for recovery, but for prevention. As the meeting concluded, Isha felt a renewed sense of urgency. They had the opportunity to show the community that they could navigate challenges together, using both technology and traditional knowledge to protect their land. In the days leading up to the storm, farmers worked diligently to secure their crops and prepare their families. The community came together, sharing tools and resources, reinforcing the bonds that had formed amidst the chaos of the past weeks. When the storm finally hit, it came with a ferocity that left Isha feeling helpless. She watched from her window as the rain poured down, winds howling and debris flying. It was a stark reminder of nature's power, one that could sweep away all their hard work in an instant. But as the storm raged, something remarkable happened. Instead of retreating in fear, the community rallied together. They helped one another secure their farms, reinforcing structures, and moving livestock to safer areas. Isha felt a swell of pride as she saw the unity that had formed. When the storm finally passed, the damage was extensive, but not as devastating as it could have been. Many farms had suffered losses, but the community's preparation had mitigated some of the worst effects. Isha, Terk, and the task force quickly organized teams to assess the damage and help those in need. As they surveyed the fields, Isha felt a mixture of sorrow and relief. Some crops were lost, but others had weathered the storm. Farmers banded together to lend support, sharing resources and providing aid to those who needed it most. During a community meeting held after the storm, Isha felt a wave of emotion wash over her. We've faced two storms, one of nature and one of doubt, but we've proven that we can weather both together. We've shown resilience and strength, and it's time to build on that. Amir spoke up, his voice firm. I want to acknowledge the efforts of everyone in this community. We've come a long way, and while we've faced setbacks, we've also demonstrated that we can rise above them. The farmers nodded in agreement, their expressions a mix of determination and hope. The unity they had forged was palpable, and Isha felt that they were now in a position to rebuild not just their farms, but their futures. In the weeks that followed, as they worked to recover from the storm, the community began to explore new avenues for collaboration. Isha encouraged farmers to share their experiences from the pilot programs, learning from both successes and challenges. They established regular community gatherings where farmers could come together to discuss ideas, share resources, and support one another. This created a sense of camaraderie that was previously absent, and Isha could feel the energy shift within the community. As the harvest season approached, Isha felt a surge of hope. They had weathered storms both literal and metaphorical and emerged stronger. The focus groups had grown into something more, a true collaboration where every voice mattered. However, Isha knew they still had work to do. The dissenters remained cautious, and she needed to ensure that their concerns were addressed. With Terk by her side, she organized a special session dedicated to discussing the long-term vision for their community. At the session, farmers shared their aspirations for the future. They spoke of integrating technology in a way that respected their traditions, creating sustainable practices that would benefit generations to come. Isha listened intently, her heart swelling with pride at the unity they had forged. As the session concluded, Isha stood up, feeling inspired. This is the beginning of a new chapter for us. We've shown that we can come together in times of crisis and, as the sun began to set on the horizon, casting vibrant shades of orange and pink across the sky, Isha felt a sense of hope wash over her. The community was on the cusp of something transformative, and she was determined to guide them through this pivotal moment. They had come together to confront their challenges, and now they needed a vision that encompassed their shared aspirations. Thank you all for your contributions today, Isha said, standing in front of the assembled farmers. What we've achieved in such a short time is remarkable. We've not only weathered storms but also built relationships that can carry us forward. I believe we are ready to take the next step in our journey. Terk stepped forward, his eyes gleaming with excitement. As we prepare for the upcoming harvest, we need to focus on not just recovery, but growth. This is our chance to redefine what it means to farm in this community. Let's capitalize on the lessons we've learned and incorporate new methods that benefit all of us. Amir raised his hand, still cautious but willing to engage. I appreciate the enthusiasm, but we need to be realistic. We've faced losses, and we're not out of the woods yet. What concrete steps do you envision to ensure we don't just talk about change, but actually implement it? Isha nodded, recognizing Amir's concerns. Absolutely. It's vital that we set measurable goals for ourselves. We need to develop a comprehensive plan that includes immediate actions for the harvest season and longer-term strategies for sustainability and collaboration. As the discussions unfolded, ideas flowed freely. They debated the implementation of crop rotation systems, integrated pest management, and soil health initiatives. Isha encouraged everyone to share their insights and expertise, fostering an atmosphere where every voice was valued. Fatima, who had gained confidence throughout the process, proposed a community-led agricultural fair. This could be an opportunity to showcase our diversity in farming practices. We can invite experts to share knowledge, demonstrate new techniques, and highlight what's working well in our community. The idea sparked enthusiasm, and the room buzzed with excitement. Isha could see the energy shifting as the farmers began to envision a future built on collaboration and mutual support. They set a date for the agricultural fair, and plans began to take shape. Over the following weeks, the atmosphere in the community transformed. Farmers worked diligently, preparing their fields and planning for the fair. Isha took the lead in organizing the logistics, reaching out to experts and local businesses to support the event. As the day of the agricultural fair approached, Isha felt a mix of nerves and excitement. She wanted it to be a success, not just for the sake of the community, but as a testament to their resilience and commitment to a brighter future. The day of the fair arrived, and the community center was buzzing with activity. Colorful banners decorated the space, and tables filled with produce, handmade crafts, and informational pamphlets lined the walls. Laughter and chatter echoed throughout the venue as farmers proudly showcased their hard work. Isha moved through the crowd, greeting familiar faces and feeling a sense of belonging that had blossomed since the recent storms. She stopped by Fatima's booth, where she was displaying jars of homemade preserves and baked goods. "This is amazing, Fatima. You've done such a great job," Isha said, beaming with pride. "I can't believe how far we've come." Fatima smiled back, her eyes sparkling with joy. "Thank you, Isha. This is more than just a fair for me. It's a celebration of our community. I can feel the energy here. People are excited about working together." As the afternoon unfolded, a series of workshops were held, covering everything from sustainable farming practices to the use of technology in agriculture. Local experts shared their knowledge, fostering discussions that encouraged innovation and growth. Isha watched as farmers engaged with the presenters, asking questions and sharing their own experiences. The atmosphere was electric, filled with curiosity and determination. They were not just participants, they were collaborators, united in their desire to thrive. Amir approached Isha, his demeanor softer than before. "I've got to hand it to you, Isha. This fair is a testament to what we can achieve when we come together. I'm starting to see the potential in these initiatives." "I'm glad to hear that, Amir," Isha replied, feeling a sense of relief. "This is just the beginning. We have the opportunity to create something lasting, a community where we support one another and grow together." As the day continued, Isha felt a wave of gratitude for the journey they had undertaken. They had faced challenges, rebuilt trust, and emerged with a renewed sense of purpose. The fair had become a symbol of their resilience and unity. When the event concluded, the community gathered for a closing ceremony. Isha stood at the front, her heart swelling with pride as she looked out at the smiling faces. "Thank you all for making this day a success. This is just the first step in our journey together. Let's take the energy and enthusiasm from today and carry it forward into our future." The applause that erupted was deafening, and Isha felt a surge of emotion. They were no longer just individuals navigating a challenging landscape. They were a community committed to shared growth and collaboration. In the following weeks, the energy from the fair carried into their daily lives. Farmers continued to meet regularly, sharing experiences and challenges as they worked toward their goals. The pilot programs gained traction, and the focus groups evolved into a collaborative network of knowledge and support. Isha made it a priority to keep the lines of communication open. She organized monthly meetings where farmers could report on their progress, celebrate successes, and address any issues that arose. This sense of accountability reinforced the bonds they had formed. As the harvest season approached, anticipation filled the air. Isha could see the fruits of their labor, both literally and metaphorically, beginning to take shape. The crops thrived, nurtured by the combined efforts of the community. But amid the optimism, Isha remained aware of the undercurrents of dissent that still lingered. Not everyone was convinced that the new methods would yield the results they hoped for. She knew she needed to address these concerns head-on to solidify the unity they had built. One evening, as Isha prepared for the monthly meeting, Terk joined her. "We need to have a discussion about the remaining skeptics. I can sense that some are still resistant to the changes we're implementing." "I know," Isha replied, her brow furrowing. "But we can't let fear dictate our progress. We need to invite them into the conversation and show them the data we've collected from the pilot programs. Knowledge is power." Terk nodded, his expression thoughtful. "Perhaps we should set up a special session dedicated to addressing their concerns. A space where we can openly discuss the challenges and successes of our initiatives." "Great idea," Isha agreed. "Let's make it a priority. We need to demonstrate that we value their input and are committed to addressing their concerns." They quickly organized the special session, reaching out to the farmers who had been vocal skeptics. Isha wanted to create an environment where everyone felt safe to express their thoughts and where the focus would be on collaboration. On the day of the session, the atmosphere was tense. As the farmers gathered, Isha felt a knot in her stomach. She understood the importance of this meeting, and she wanted to ensure it would foster dialogue rather than division. "I want to thank you all for being here," Isha began, her voice steady. "Today, we're here to talk openly about our experiences with the pilot programs and to address any concerns you may have. This is a collaborative space, and I encourage everyone to share their thoughts." Amir was the first to speak. "I appreciate you organizing this, Isha. My concern is that while we've seen some successes, we also need to recognize the failures. Not every method has worked, and we need to be prepared to adjust our approach." Isha nodded, grateful for Amir's willingness to engage. "Absolutely. We've been tracking the results closely, and it's crucial that we evaluate both successes and setbacks. Let's break into smaller groups to discuss specific challenges we've faced and brainstorm solutions together." As they broke into smaller groups, Isha felt a shift in the atmosphere. Farmers began to share their experiences candidly, discussing the methods that had yielded positive results while also identifying areas for improvement. When they reconvened, each group reported their findings. The discussions were constructive, focusing on collaborative problem-solving rather than blame. Isha could sense the tensions easing as they worked together to navigate the complexities of their agricultural practices. By the end of the session, Isha felt a sense of hope. They had turned a moment of skepticism into an opportunity for growth. The farmers left with a renewed sense of purpose, ready to tackle the challenges ahead. As the harvest season officially began, Isha felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. They had made tremendous strides, but the outcome of their efforts was yet to be determined. She knew that this season would be a crucial test of their newfound collaboration. The days turned into weeks, and the community worked tirelessly in the fields. Isha joined them, feeling a deep sense of connection to the land and the people who nurtured it. They harvested crops together, laughter echoing through the fields as they shared stories and camaraderie. But as the harvest progressed, they faced unexpected challenges. Pest infestations and unpredictable weather threatened their yields, and Isha could feel the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. She had encouraged this collective effort, and now they had to navigate the hurdles that arose. During a particularly challenging week, Isha gathered the farmers for an emergency meeting. "We need to come together and brainstorm solutions," she urged. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting long shadows across the fields, Isha gathered the farmers for an urgent meeting. The air was thick with uncertainty. Despite their diligent work during the harvest season, pest infestations had taken a toll on their crops. The worries etched into the faces of the farmers mirrored the unease that had settled within Isha's heart. "Thank you all for coming on such short notice," she began, her voice steady yet filled with emotion. "We've encountered challenges in our harvest that we need to address together. I know many of you have been affected, and it's important that we share our insights and support one another." Amir sat near the front, his brow furrowed in concern. "We've put in so much effort, Isha, It's disheartening to see our hard work compromised by pests. What can we do? I hear you, Amir, Isha replied, taking a moment to gather her thoughts. This is a critical moment for us. We need to act swiftly but thoughtfully. Let's start by identifying the specific pests we're dealing with. I want us to share any experiences we have, and then we can explore both traditional and innovative methods to combat them. Fatima spoke up, her voice tinged with urgency. I've noticed an increase in aphids in my fields, and I've been using neem oil to try and control them. It seems to help a bit, but not enough. What else can we try? Isha nodded appreciatively. Neem oil is a great start. We can also look into companion planting using certain plants that deter pests naturally. For instance, marigolds are known to repel aphids. Have you considered planting them alongside your crops? Several farmers chimed in, discussing their own experiences with various pests. They shared insights about their respective fields, creating a collaborative atmosphere. Isha could feel the energy shifting as they began to brainstorm solutions together. After some discussion, Rashid, who had been listening intently, raised his hand. What if we set up a community-wide pest management initiative? We could combine our resources to implement solutions on a larger scale. That's an excellent idea, Rashid, Isha said, feeling a surge of optimism. We could create a schedule for monitoring pest levels across our fields, and if one farmer identifies a problem, we can mobilize support to address it quickly. With renewed determination, they began to formulate a plan. Isha encouraged everyone to take ownership of specific tasks, fostering a sense of camaraderie and collective responsibility. As they wrapped up the meeting, Isha felt a wave of relief wash over her. They were taking proactive steps together, and the collaboration was strengthening their bonds. In the following days, the farmers implemented their pest management initiative with remarkable efficiency. They formed small teams to scout for pests, applying traditional methods alongside the new techniques they had discussed. Isha felt a sense of pride as she watched the community come together, working as a cohesive unit to combat the challenges they faced. But as the weeks went on, another storm threatened not from the skies, but from within their own ranks. Despite their progress, whispers of doubt began to circulate again. Some farmers were still skeptical about the technology and methods they were implementing, fearing that the experiments might jeopardize their livelihoods. Isha knew she had to address these concerns before they spiraled into a larger divide. Drawing from her experience, she organized another meeting, this time inviting not only those who were supportive of the new methods, but also those who remained apprehensive. "Thank you all for coming today," she began, her heart racing as she faced the room. "I want to have an open and honest discussion about the challenges we're facing and the different perspectives we hold. Our goal is to ensure that every voice is heard and that we can move forward together." Amir stood up, his demeanor more reserved than usual. "I appreciate you bringing us together again, Isha, but I want to reiterate my concerns. While I understand the need for innovation, I'm worried about the long-term effects of some of these methods on our land and our crops. We need to ensure that we're not sacrificing our future for short-term gains." Isha felt a knot tighten in her stomach. "Those concerns are completely valid, Amir. I want to assure you that we're committed to balancing innovation with sustainability. The data we've been gathering from the pilot programs will help us make informed decisions moving forward." Fatima chimed in, her voice steady. "I think we can learn from both traditional practices and modern techniques. There's value in integrating what has worked for us in the past with new ideas. But we also need to remain flexible and willing to adapt." As the discussions continued, the atmosphere shifted from one of contention to collaboration. Farmers began to share their own experiences, discussing both the successes and failures they had encountered during the harvest season. Isha encouraged them to examine the data collected from the Pest Management Initiative, guiding the conversation toward constructive problem-solving. At the end of the meeting, Isha felt a sense of hope. They had turned a moment of tension into an opportunity for growth, reaffirming their commitment to work together. As they left the room, Isha couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing at a crossroads. where their choices would shape the future of their community. In the days that followed, the farmers continued to implement their pest management. As the weeks turned into months, Isha and the community faced their greatest test yet. The harvest season had yielded mixed results, with some crops thriving while others fell prey to pests and unpredictable weather. However, the most significant challenge came not from nature, but from the growing divide within the community. Isha stood at the edge of the main field one evening, watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of gold and crimson. The beauty of the land reminded her of why she had dedicated herself to this community, but the weight of dissent pressed heavily on her heart. It was evident that the bond they had worked so hard to forge was beginning to fray. One evening, as she prepared for another community meeting, she received a call from Tarek. "Isha, we need to talk. The farmers who were initially skeptical are organizing a meeting of their own. They feel sidelined and want to discuss going back to traditional methods entirely." Panic flared in Isha's chest. What if this turns into a split? We can't let that happen, Tarek. We've made so much progress together. I know, he replied, his voice steady. But we can't ignore their concerns either. We need to approach this delicately and remind everyone why we're in this together. The next meeting was unlike any other. Tensions simmered as farmers took sides. Isha sensed the palpable frustration in the room. "Please, let's take a moment to listen to each other," she urged, her heart racing. "We're all here because we care about our land, our families, and our future." Amir stood up, his voice firm but earnest. "I'm not against progress, but we need to protect our heritage and ensure that what we implement doesn't harm our soil or our traditions. There's a place for both old and new, but we can't rush into this blindly." "I agree," Isha replied, taking a deep breath. "What if we create a dual approach? We could establish a committee to explore both traditional and innovative methods. Let's document the outcomes of each and ensure transparency in our decisions." Slowly, the room began to quiet. Fatima added, "We've learned so much already. Why not use that knowledge to create a hybrid approach? We can gather data from both methods and evaluate which works best for our community as a whole." The suggestion sparked a glimmer of hope. The farmers began to discuss how they could blend their practices, drawing on both the wisdom of their ancestors and the potential of new technologies. Isha felt the atmosphere shift from one of division to collaboration. As they worked to develop this new strategy, the farmers grew closer. They spent time in each other's fields, sharing techniques and experiences. Isha facilitated workshops where they explored sustainable practices, blending traditional wisdom with modern insights. The community slowly began to find common ground, uniting in their shared vision for a sustainable future. Months passed, and the results of their dual approach began to show promise. The fields flourished, and the community thrived as they embraced a model that honored both their heritage and the environment. Farmers began to see the benefits of their collaboration, witnessing firsthand the impact of their collective efforts. One evening, as the harvest festival approached, Isha stood with Tarek, looking over the vibrant fields. "I can't believe how far we've come," she said, a smile breaking across her face. "We faced so much adversity, but we've built something incredible together." Tarek nodded, pride evident in his eyes. "This community has proven its resilience. We've turned challenges into opportunities, and I truly believe we're setting a precedent for future generations." As the festival began, laughter and music filled the air. Families gathered to celebrate their hard work, showcasing the fruits of their labor. The atmosphere was alive with joy and gratitude, a testament to the bonds they had forged. Isha stood on a makeshift stage, addressing the crowd. "Today, we celebrate not just our harvest, but our unity. We've shown that by coming together, we can overcome any challenge. Let's continue to honor our traditions while embracing innovation, ensuring that our land remains vibrant for generations to come." The crowd erupted into applause, a wave of enthusiasm and support washing over her. In that moment, Isha felt a profound sense of belonging. They were no longer just individuals working the land. They were a community united in purpose and passion. As the night unfolded, Isha felt a deep sense of fulfillment. They had turned a story of struggle into one of triumph. The farmers, once divided, now stood together, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. In the years that followed, the community continued to thrive, adapting and evolving as they embraced new ideas while honoring their heritage. They became a model for other communities, showcasing the power of collaboration and resilience. Isha often reflected on their journey, grateful for the lessons learned along the way. They had weathered storms both literal and metaphorical and emerged stronger than ever. Together, they had forged a future that respected their roots while embracing the promise of what lay ahead. And so, as the seasons changed and the land flourished, Isha knew that their story was only just beginning. They had stolen back what it meant to be a community, reclaiming their connection to the earth and to each other. With every harvest, they sowed the seeds of hope for generations to come, proving that together, they could overcome anything. The end.